Hello, everybody. Welcome to Armchair Expert. We are doing this introduction overlooking beautiful Lake Austin.
It's really pretty.
It's quite incredible.
We're not going home.
Team Armchair rented a house on the lake leading up to our live show, and my goodness, is it spectacular. I don't want to brag, so I'm going to ask Monica to do it for me.
Okay, I'll brag.
Monica, tell them what record was just set.
Oh. There was a treading water. We can't be positive it's a record. I'm just going to say that.
We're pretty certain.
For you, it's a record.
Yeah, and it was kind of a challenge to Charlie, my dream boat in the Perfect 10 calendar, who's much more fit than me.
Yeah, you wanted to beat him.
At something.
At one thing in life.
Yes, just one thing would have been fine.
And so you picked treading water.
Yeah.
And you just treaded water for an hour and 1 minute.
1 hour, 1 minute of straight treading, no cheating.
No cheating.
No bullshit. Straight tread. And we created a workout that we're hoping will sweep the nation called Turtle Tread. And then we yell things like, "Shells up!"
And then an actual turtle came by.
And then, that's what prompted calling it Turtle Tread. Okay, now, without further ado, this is a very special episode because I think you guys have all heard that we love Fargo.
So much.
We're Fargo nerds.
We think it's the best show on TV ever.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to know that there's not another one in the immediate pipeline.
But there will be one.
Maybe. He's very busy, Noah Hawley.
I think I read that there will be one.
Oh, okay. Well, so we decided to do a Fargo super episode. So today we have both Allison Tolman and Colin Hanks. It's a double whammy where we will talk about Fargo in both. And we hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
Also, if you find out that someone has done it for more than 1 hour and 1 minute in Lake Austin, just keep it to yourself.
Also, if you want to pull up some pictures of Lake Austin while you're listening to this episode, great idea.
Yeah, and look and stare at it for 1 hour and 1 minute and know that's how long I was treading water. Here are Colin Hanks and Allison Tolman.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Can I say some precursors here?
Yeah, of
So
course.
your wife, Sam,
Yes.
I met 14 years ago.
Yes.
Because she was working on a movie, Zathura, that I did.
Yes.
And I always got on with her great.
Yes.
She's one of my favorite people there.
She's great.
And then I bumped into you, I guess, at Ryan Hansen's house.
Yep.
At Christmas party, and there was a food truck, and I think specifically we were waiting in line to get Frito pie.
Sam's favorite meal.
Another
favorite
feather in her cap.
Yes.
That just shows what kind of gal she is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, this is a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Two super nice people that I've liked every time I've bumped into. And how did you guys even find each other?
We so this is going to be very funny and maybe awkward for you.
Great.
But so she went to college with my best friend who I grew up with in Sacramento.
Okay.
And my producing partner, who's produced all the docs that I've done. And so they went to school together. So I had met her in passing a bunch, but she was sort of just like one of many, USC people that I sort of met when he was going to school.
Yeah.
And then we sort of connected, or at least I was able to sort of go like, oh, yes, I do know you, because I went in and read for Favreau for Zathura.
Oh.
And I was shooting a movie.
I have to assume for the role I was
Yes.
cast in because there was
Yes.
only 5 cast
There-
members.
yes, there were
and you
only
weren't the
5
Tim
people.
Robbins role.
I was not the Tim Robbins role.
Or Kristen Stewart.
I was definitely not the Kristen Stewart. Or the Josh Hutcherson. I was working in... I was in Texas again at working on a movie. And the actress in that movie was Sam's roommate.
Okay.
And she goes, oh, Sam works for Jon Favreau.
Uh-huh.
And I go, who's Sam? She goes, cute, redhead. You've met her.
Fiery
And I'm like,
personality.
don't know who you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then when I flew into L.A. to meet with Favreau, and one day I met Favreau for Zathura and Peter Jackson for King Kong.
Oh, wow.
And I walked into Favreau's office and I saw Sam, and it was like, yes, you're Sam. I know exactly who you are.
Oh.
And we talked a little bit, and we had tons of mutual friends.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets weird. Here's where it gets a little weird.
Okay.
So I go and have that meeting with Favs. I have a meeting with Peter Jackson, and I get offers for both movies.
No
Yeah.
shit.
And I literally have to choose.
Oh my goodness.
And I try my hardest to find some way to do both.
Sure.
But
and I imagine both, because I was in Zathura. That was a 6-month-long shoot. It was like
Yeah.
a crazy long shoot, or 5 months.
Oh, I mean,
then I have to imagine King Kong was also.
that was like 10 months.
Yeah.
And it was insane. And so I was begging them, is there any way that we could do both? And Zathura couldn't move dates because of Tim Robbins, and he was the most important thing for that movie.
Yes.
At that time.
And, well, it remains.
But then you got cast, so then it worked out. So they said, well, we can't move those because of his dates, so you have to choose.
Right.
And I was like, stay in Los Angeles, work with Jon Favreau, which I really want to do. But it's Peter Jackson, and it's 10 months in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I think I kind of got to do that one. And so I said, I tried to call John. I left a message for him. Mm-hmm. He waited 5 days to call me back.
Oh, wow.
And I called Sam. I said, hey, what's going on? And she just goes, he's just making you wait.
Ah, okay.
He's just hoping that you change your mind.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, I will say Favreau has a lot of ninja moves.
He does.
That I aspire to have.
He's got whatever the 3D
Yeah.
3-dimensional chessboard is.
Yeah.
He's mastered that.
He is one of the few people I can humble myself enough to call for advice. He's always who I call for advice.
Yeah.
He's got his shit pretty figured out.
He's a smart guy.
He's
And
incredibly smart,
it was one of those things where it's I was so bummed because I love Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And he was he was one of the reasons why I sort of wanted to not get into movies, but was one of the people that made me realize that
It could be done.
it can be done on any level.
Yes, I compare Swingers to when you think you might want to be a musician and you hear punk rock. And you're like, well, fuck, man, I think I might be able to do that.
I think I could do that, yeah.
Yeah, and Swingers was very inspirational in that way. I was like, oh, this is a
Absolutely.
homemade backyard. Guys got together and made this
Absolutely.
happen. Yeah.
So, anyways, flash forward a year or so later.
So you go and do King Kong.
I go do King Kong. You go do Zathura.
Right.
Everybody's happy. It's all good.
Right.
I come back to L.A. and I see Sam at a party, and all of a sudden it just clicked again, and I'm like, oh, I think I really like this person, and we started dating, and then after a year of dating, we moved to New York together.
Okay, and why did you move to New York? So now, yes, thank
We
you. You
moved
brought
to
us
New
full
York.
circle to New York City.
We moved to New York because I was just sort of fried on Los Angeles and wanted a change. I came back from New Zealand was sort of like a big, life-changing kind of experience for me. It just reached me. It just was at that time in my sort of late-ish 20s where I'm just sort of yeah, the clock is running. I gotta do shit. If there's no more, I don't want to be that guy who's I should have done this.
Sure. And when you read the script for King Kong, did you read Jack Black's line? "'Twas cute, 'twas cutie, 'twas beauty that killed the beast."
I preferred "'twas cutie."
'Twas cutie that killed. When you read the line, "'Twas beauty that killed the beast," did you have a moment of deep gratitude that you weren't going to have to deliver that line?
Oh, my
Because when
God.
I saw that movie, I thought, I want to write Jack Black a love letter and just go, God bless you. I don't know how you did it. I don't think I could say the line out loud.
Well, you know the weird thing about that,
Because that's a carryover line, right, from the original?
it's a carryover line from the original. But what happened was he wasn't originally going to say it.
Okay.
The original Fay Ray was going to say it.
Oh.
She was gonna do a cameo at the very end.
And say, "'Twas
Yeah,
cutie
she
that
was gonna,
killed the beast."
"'Twas cutie that killed the beast. The story goes, I believe, that Peter had met her and she had agreed to do it, but then she passed away
Oh,
like
okay.
months before that had sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when I read the script, it was already sort of Jack's line, but he was kind of like, why'd she have to die?
Yeah,
Why could she still
I've
be
never
around?
had the chance to ask him about his whole emotional journey, and knowing that line was coming probably for 10 months.
Oh man, I mean
Because sometimes you just get stuck with that line where it's like it's got to be in there. It was in the original.
and then also like with Pete, you know, it's like 20 takes sometimes, 25 takes. Like,
okay.
there's no rush.
Uh-huh.
I don't ever recall being rushed on that movie.
Right.
Like
right.
that is the biggest budget film I've ever been on, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we're just going to do this scene for like all day long. I'm like, really? It's only 2 pages.
You have children now.
I do, yeah.
Right. So that changes everything, right? Because
Absolutely.
you know, all you want as a child is to become an actor. So when you're doing the acting job,
Yeah.
you're doing the thing you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, I also want to be home with my kids.
I gotta be home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets far, for me, my patience has gone down pretty dramatically with inefficiency or bad game plans.
Well, and it's also to bring it back to New York.
I'm gonna. My goal in this interview
so
is to
good.
not hear about New York until literally hour 2.
We can make that happen.
Like you're gonna say we moved to New York for the pizza, and I'm gonna go, thank you, Colin Hanks, for coming in. It was so great to have you.
well, never answered at the very just say, so why did you move to
And
New
it was
York
just the
for
pizza.
the pizza?
Yeah. The city water's delicious.
But there was a time when, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. When I was younger, I would just spend so much time obsessing about work and what it meant and what kind of things that I wanted to do and, you know, all of that stuff because you have nothing but time and nothing but energy and nothing but anxiety to obsess about those things.
Well, and let's add to it, at that moment when you're not married and don't have kids, that's the only thing you have, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're thinking in terms of maybe legacy or worth on this planet,
Yeah.
or right. And then once you have kids, it becomes pretty crystal clear. Like, oh no, my job now, my
Yeah.
identity is getting this kid to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and so you really, or at least for myself, I'm not evaluating anymore. Like, where am I at as an actor? Am I respected? Am I successful? Like those things that were the only thing I really had to evaluate myself.
Yeah.
Just took a back seat.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, it ends up sort of just, yeah, you just put it in the back seat.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Sure.
And it'll pop up every
Is
now
it-
and again and try and give you some backseat, directions.
Well, how old are you?
I am 40.
Oh, you're 40.
Yeah.
Okay. And I got to say, this has only happened to me in probably the last year and a half. How often does that pop up for you? Like, do you, at this point, you're 40, have you at all transitioned into like, you know what the main thing is like make a living, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like whether or not
yeah.
people are going to like secretly talk about how brilliant you are.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't have that. That is not. That is nowhere near as prevalent as it was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Now it really is. I mean, shit. Even right now, the TV show that I'm on, I love it. It's a great gig.
What show are you on
It's
right
called
now?
Life in Pieces. It's on
Okay.
CBS. We're about to start our 4th year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which has been amazing because it shoots in Los Angeles.
Yes.
The hours are super quick. I work
It's
with
not multicam,
amazing
is it?
people. It's not multicam, but we shoot so quickly
Uh-huh.
with multiple cameras
Sure.
that we sort of are able to keep the pace up real quick. So
Yeah.
I can be at work at 5 a.m. and I am at home reading, the kids' books by 7 at night.
Right.
And it's perfect. And I've been present in my kids' lives for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Whereas right before that,
Yeah.
I was, going to Canada and going to Michigan and Iowa and like all of these places to go do these things where, maybe they're not working out or maybe they're not being, as accepted as much as I would have liked. And
Sure.
you're sitting there going like, why am I doing this?
But you're a perfect guy to talk to about this topic, really. You just kind of steered me exactly where I want to be, which is you were in Fargo. Mm-hmm. You were brilliant in Fargo.
Thank you.
You're here as kind of a Fargo episode. I don't know if you know that or not. If
My
that was
what?
told
Yeah.
you. You're here. We're doing a Fargo episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Because we love that show so much.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So you've had both.
I went to Fargo for the hot dish. Is it? Sorry, that's a different question. That's a different question. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'll bring you back to New York
Okay.
soon enough, the Big Apple. But in the last 5 years of your life, you had both things. So you had one that you had to go to Egypt. Where did they film that?
Calgary.
The point is you were in a tundra of frozen ice.
Yeah.
For a few months, right?
Yeah.
And it's not super great hang for the kids and the wife, right?
They didn't even come.
They didn't even come. There you go. So you had an experience, which was Fargo, which, am I safe to say that that's probably the most prestige you've achieved as an actor?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I remember watching it going like, so glad you're on it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that you, and I say this like I would say it about myself.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you got the chance to be on that show.
Oh, thanks, man.
And that you crushed in such a crazy way where you were like, oh, no, I'm fucking deserve to be here as much as Billy Bob Thornton. Like, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you had both experiences. And, you know, and now you've had 4 years of general comfort on a show.
Yeah.
Maybe without getting nominated. Have you been nominated? Maybe.
I've been nominated for Fargo, but
No, I mean, I mean for your...
Life in Pieces. No.
No, right. Yeah, so kind of put those on the scale for me at 40 years old.
Well, so it was so fascinating because the Fargo thing in reality is such a weird fluke. It and I don't mean that in that we didn't know that it was good. We knew that it was good, but we didn't know if people would buy into that.
Sure. Well, for right out of the gates, I think you're treading on very hollow ground, which is the Coen Brothers, one of their best movies.
Oh.
How dare anyone try to make that into a TV show?
And that was the first thing I said when my agent was like, so we have this script for a television series of Fargo. And the first thing I said is, why?
Right.
Stop. Don't.
Well, by the way, Billy Bob, I was working with on The Judge.
Oh, yeah.
And he left there and went directly to Calgary. And
Oh,
he's
did
like,
he?
He's like, I got to go to, well, he said more like this, I'm not your fucking dada. He said, I got to go to Calgary. I'm doing a show, Fargo. And I was like, wait a minute. Well, you're doing Fargo? And I said, that feels so weird.
Yeah.
Why are you doing Fargo?
Yeah.
It was confusing to me. And I remember saying, like, that feels like a big swing.
It felt like a super big swing.
Yeah.
And what was
It's like Citizen Kane the show.
Yeah. And what was crazy was that I think universally that was everyone's initial thought.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Yeah.
And then read the pilot.
Yeah.
And that pilot was so different and so, like, I can say it now, like, it was so groundbreaking.
Uh-huh.
But at
sure.
the same time, you're looking at it just going like, wow, I don't even know. This is really, really good. And then the more you looked at it, it actually got better and you admired it more.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Was the scene in the pilot with Billy Bob saying, I know where you live or something, like the interaction?
Yeah.
Was that in the pilot?
That was in the pilot.
Yeah.
So,
And that was the moment for me where I went, oh, wow. This is a fucking hell of a show.
well, so
I'm going to be very sacrilegious and go, I like the show more than the movie. For me, if I got to pick
that's
one
fair.
thing I got to see in my lifetime, it's
very
definitely
sweet.
the show.
that particular episode, I remember, I went and I did the audition and read and got the part, but there was all sorts of, it wasn't really clear like what the season was going to be, and there was talk about, okay, so, because normally you get a show and you sign 6 years of your life away.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, hope this is right.
Yeah.
Come on, lucky number 7. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And with this, they're like, okay, well, they may do 2 years, but they're definitely going to be 1 year with the option for maybe a second. I was like, oh, okay. And I was talking with Noah, and he says, look, what we're doing is really different. And even if you just looked at the structure of that, one of the first things he pointed out is a pilot episode of a television show, the very first episode. Normally you make it, and then it's months later until you make the second episode. But with this one, it was just we're making them all right away. And he said,
Like a
normally,
movie, basically.
Yeah, pretty much like a movie. And he said, look, when you do a pilot, you have, let's say you have 12 characters. You have to introduce all 12 characters within the first, 10 pages.
Yes.
And he said...
Which is the laborious part of all pilots.
And it's horrible.
Yeah.
But the Gus stuff didn't come up until page, 48.
Oh, wow.
At the end of the episode. And he said, so I want you to know that your character is an integral part of the series. But in that one particular episode, it's just that one scene.
Right.
And I remember thinking, well,
And you didn't have all the other scripts to
didn't have
confirm
any of the
that.
other scripts. No.
And we've all been lied to by a lot of directors and producers
for
at
sure.
that point, yeah.
But I remember thinking, well, if you're only going to be in one scene, that's
What a scene.
that's a scene that you want to be in.
Yeah.
But the nightmare part of this story is that scene was actually shot on 2 different Fridays.
Oh, really?
We shot all of Billy Bob's side on one Friday, and then we shot my side, the following Friday,
week
and
later.
Billy Bob wasn't there.
Oh,
Which was
boy.
not at all Billy Bob's fault.
Right. He's a busy man.
It was not his. It was like a scheduling mistake, and he couldn't be in Calgary on that day. So we had to shoot the day that it was scheduled to shoot the entire scene. We had to shoot Billy Bob's stuff.
Yeah, to get him out in
And
time.
we ended up basically just shooting it in a car in our stages. They just opened up the windows so that you could see the breath. And we did all of Billy Bob's stuff and one far angle of the both of us
To tie you guys together.
together. And then a week later,
You're saying it to
I'm
a
saying
grip.
it to first I said it to 3 different things. First I said it to his stand-in, who was a very sweet man, but he didn't know the dialogue.
Yeah.
And so he started to improv, but it sounded like Sling Blade.
Okay, great.
And I said, okay, but
Mutton potatoes.
yeah. And I'm like, I don't need that. And I said, let's get the
But
script
can I just
supervisor
say
to read.
something about that scene in particular? If ever there were a reacting scene,
Yes.
So your full responsibility in that scene
Is reacting
to
to a
respond,
monologue. Yes.
to this incredible monologue.
Yes.
This
incredible,
That's what you're going to
threatening,
add.
frightening man.
That's what you'll be adding to this scene.
Yes.
And you kind of need that.
I need that.
You need that.
I
yeah.
need that.
I
As-
would almost prefer they just put a fucking monitor in the front seat and I got to listen to what he was saying.
Well, at one point, the scripty comes in. She reads it very monotone.
Yeah, sure.
I go,
also
okay,
a woman.
You want to know
Not
what?
even the right gender.
I said, let's just give me an X. Literally, just give me an
Yeah,
X.
yeah.
And just roll, and let me just
Hear it in your head.
Yeah, no talking,
Yeah.
and I'll just sort of do that. And through the magic of editing,
Uh-huh.
you'll grab little bits and moments, and we'll just let's just try that.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing, I think, maybe 2 or 3 takes like that.
Uh-huh.
And then it was just okay, lucky number 7, cut, print. All right, we'll move on. And that was that.
So you must have gone home that night a little fearful.
Oh my God! I've never been more sort of okay. I literally didn't know. I had no
Sense.
idea what was going on. And it was also a weird thing of I didn't know if that was a time where I could stand up for myself and say, guys,
Yes.
this is so fucked up.
Yes,
Why
yes.
would you do this? This
Yes.
is my one scene. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But it's also, I'm getting to know everybody. I don't want to be that guy.
Sure.
I'm not that guy, so I
Right.
don't want to find myself being that guy on the first day. But there's this other thing that is important to remember. At this point, none of us still really know if this is going to work.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Because there's so much in the back of your head, you're going, I know that this script is really good, but I don't know if people are going to buy this. I don't know if people are going to get past their initial thought of oh, Coen Brothers fan fiction, no thank you.
Right.
And
It was also shot in a very specific way.
yeah,
Was any of that occurring to you while you were
oh
filming
yeah,
it?
they had specific rules of things that they could not do.
Okay. As set by who? Do you
as
know?
set by Noah.
Okay.
And really as set by the Coen brothers.
Right.
Because there are certain sort of
Rules they established in the movie.
rules that they established, not only in their movie, but in all of their movies,
Mm-hmm.
that it needed to have that same patina. It needed
Yeah.
to have that same continuity.
Architecture.
And so you couldn't just throw focus to something way down, the corridor, because they don't do that. So, like, there were all of those little things where I'm like, well, why don't you just do that? And I was like, because we can't. And so that was that level of detail that we didn't really know about reading it.
Right.
And we didn't really know about until we started sort of filming it. And we went, oh, okay, well, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the moment that I got really excited was when they brought in the bag of money that Steve Buscemi leaves in the movie.
Yeah.
And had that direct connective tissue.
Yeah.
And I went, that's really cool. That's cool.
Right.
I dig that.
Yeah.
And so then it started to get a little bit more sort of engaging. I was sort of like, okay, well, this is going to be kind of cool. This is going to be kind of cool. For me, there was a whole other component of I was just thought that Gus was just so one note the entire series. I'm like, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's another question I want to ask you. The accent. How intimidated were you to do that? You were like, oh, that's fine. I can do that.
It was only intimidating for the audition.
Oh, okay.
And the audition, I had my opening bit that I hoped would cover my ass. Is I went in saying, so my accent is somewhere between Canada, eh? Mm-hmm. And Chicago down here.
Uh-huh.
But if you give me the job, I'll whittle it into the middle, into Minnesota.
Ah.
And so I just kind of did that. But
And when you're there, well, it's not helping because you're in Calgary, so you're not hearing the accent.
So I'm trying not to do
Yeah.
the Canadian accent,
'Cause I
which
get
I
it.
slip into super easy.
Yes, I get infected by wherever I'm shooting.
Yes.
Like when I was in Boston, and
I get it. I get wherever I'm visiting.
Yeah. But the reason I get it is like when I was working in Boston, we kept driving for like an hour to these different places, and my driver Jimmy, who had just gotten out of prison, had the thickest Boston accent, and I'm just talking to him, for an hour every day on the way to work and then on the way home.
You just pick it up.
And before long, I'm like, yeah, if I come back to my fucking room and tell Kristen, like, let's get some fucking spaghetti, And I just, yeah.
When Sam always makes fun of me because when we travel to France, I'll be on the phone with the room service or whatever, and I'll say like parlez-vous français? And they'll go, ouais. And then I'll start talking in English, but with a French accent.
Sure.
And my wife goes, what the fuck are you doing? You asked them if you could speak English. Just speak English. You don't have to be like, do you have water?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stop.
Well, we would
That's
like
insulting.
a bread. I went to Italian.
So on Fargo, every morning we would get.
Did you stay in the accent during the day? Or
No.
Okay.
I didn't do any of that.
Okay.
But every morning,
Everyone on the crew thanks you, by the way. I mean, just for that.
every morning I would meet with. We had this great guy named Tony.
Okay.
And I would meet up with him every day, and he always had headphones on, and so he was listening to everybody, and so I'd sort of get the primer for the day, hear it a bunch, repeat it a bunch. And he was great because I could run lines with him.
Oh, that's
so
helpful.
I could do both,
Yeah.
which was really great. And, it was just, there was so much that was just so unknown about that.
How old were your kids then, or did you even have them?
My second was about 1.5.
Okay.
And my oldest was like 3.5.
Yeah, so you're missing some big shit
Yes.
during that period.
Yes.
Right? The 1.5-year-old starting to say words,
Yeah.
becoming more agile, running around probably by the time
Yeah.
you get home. 3-year-old
that you never get used to. I mean, when my second daughter was born, I was here. I was there for the first 15 hours of her life, and then I had to get on a plane and go to Toronto to go finish a movie.
Oh.
And that was a whole nother thing because we weren't sure like when she was going to come.
Uh-huh.
There were 3 days left on this movie.
Oh, boy.
I had not yet signed my contract,
Oh, clever.
which I don't know why that producer.
Yeah, because they never let you start.
That was
in general
crazy.
Yeah.
And
So you had a little
literally
leverage?
got to the point. Well, I mean, I could have.
Yeah.
And I mean, if push comes to shove, I like to think that I would have just stayed no matter what. But
Yeah.
when I came back, he's like so happy. He's like, I'm so relieved. And I said, come here. Here's my signed contract. You should have got this on day one.
Yeah.
Because if my daughter did not come this past weekend, I was not going to come back.
Yeah.
Because I'm not missing the birth of my child
Yeah.
for this movie.
Right.
But it all worked out. And he goes, yeah, thank you. And I'm like, all right, cool. All right. Small independent movie.
Yeah.
And so
They're already stressed to the max.
exactly.
Just, even if everything goes correctly, it's
but
stressful.
in that moment, I'm sitting there going like, wow, I just left like my newborn. Like I didn't get to bring her home from the hospital.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Which is rough.
Yeah.
And that is really when I started to go, okay,
I need to make different.
I need to find some balance here.
Some boundaries, basically.
Some
right?
boundaries.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that there's an artistic itch that is being, scratched. But there's also got to be, you got to make bread. I want to be home.
Yeah.
And Fargo was like sort of the proving ground of like, okay, this is so good, this is worth it, but when this is over, I think the next one has got to be for them, for the family.
Do you ever fast forward to the deathbed and you go like, oh cool, I've got 4 trophies on a bookshelf, and I missed first day at preschool, I missed first day at kindergarten, I missed this, I missed that. Like, do you ever do that calculus, the deathbed calculus, where you're
that's
like,
the thing in the back
it's
seat.
a good ego check. It's like, why the fuck do I need a praise for being good at the expense of my children's?
It's that thing in the back seat that is constantly piping up every now and again, saying,
Yeah.
like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And now I just go like, yeah, I mean, that's a fleeting thing.
Yeah.
I know that making sure that I'm there for the music recital or the, this seemingly innocuous kindergarten graduation that doesn't
Preposterous, but
you want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would much rather be at those.
every one of those things, I'm like, this is so preposterous.
But I'm glad I'm not.
But I
missing it.
go, and then I'm like, this is spectacular. But I start by going, I never had it. No one was clapping for me when I left kindergarten or preschool or anything. Like, get real. I didn't get, 12th grade. That's when you get your big fucking party.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So I'm a cynic like that. But then I go, oh no, this is correct. Like, this is lovely. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
What the fuck's wrong with
this is what it should be.
I guess I have this fear like, everyone's getting soft and no one's going to run this country or something. I don't know. But once I'm there, I do a 180 immediately.
It always makes me laugh because both of my kids in their kindergarten graduations got to wear like the hat and the tassels.
Uh-huh.
None of my graduations ever did I wear one of those.
Right,
so
right.
they've already
Yeah.
got one up on me, which maybe that's what it's supposed to be, right? You're supposed to provide stuff for your kids that you didn't get, so they get the tassels at every graduation, apparently.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, I was surprised to learn this because as much as I've known you socially for the last, 8 years or something, you and I were both hosts, or not hosts. We were judges on a cooking show,
Yes.
which was a surreal experience.
The
to
most surreal
say
experience.
the least. Ultimately fun.
So much fun.
And then you and I were on this preposterous contraption. We were like 4 stories in the air.
Oh my God.
So that we could oversee all the chefs working.
Yeah.
We were so high in the air, right?
Yeah.
In the stage itself, this thing we were on, it moved. I think it went up or down or something. But anyways, while you were on it, it was pretty wobbly.
Yeah.
Which was funny. But then I learned a lot about you as a person. And I guess I I assumed you had been raised in Los Angeles, but that's not even the case. You
No.
grew up in Sacramento,
Yeah,
right?
I grew up in Sacramento. My mom and dad met in Sacramento in college. And then we eventually, soon after they had me, and then we moved around a little bit. We lived in New York for a bit. We lived in Los Angeles for a bit. And then when my parents split, I moved to Sacramento with my mom.
What age were you then?
However
22?
old you, no, however, pizza. However old you are in third grade. So probably around
You're 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Depending on what your birthday is.
Depending on when your birthday is.
Yeah. When is your birthday?
November 24th, 1977.
Okay, so you were probably always old for your,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was in the older group in per
Yeah,
grade.
because they did the opposite to my brother, and it was just straight cruel.
Oh,
like he
so he was the
graduated at
youngest of the-
17.
oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not nice.
It's not the direction
That's
to go.
not nice.
Yeah. Although in this nuclear arms race of ages, because now everyone holds their kids back. So it used to be like if you had a February birthday, you were sitting good.
Yeah.
But now, like your kid who's born in February is actually going to be the youngest. So like, are people just going to start first grade at 9 years old eventually?
Oh my god,
It's an arms race.
That is a brilliant description of it. It is a fucking arms race.
So you were in third grade.
So I was in third grade, and so I pretty much grew up in Sacramento, but I also
Which is-
grew up in Los Angeles because my dad was down here
Okay. And what was the split? Like, what were you? We were doing every other weekend, which.
every other weekend.
Okay.
So we do every other weekend and summers
Oh,
down here.
Did you love coming down here? Or were you
Loved
like,
it,
I got to
yeah.
leave my friends?
No, I loved it.
Okay.
I thought it was great. And really, there was, it was just a fun sort of getaway. You know what I mean? Which I really loved. And it was a bummer that I wasn't able to sort of hang with my friends in the summer and stuff like that. I went to a summer camp down here, and so I would find stuff to do. Or
Right.
there were summers where, the old man had a job, so we're all going to
Maine.
Indiana for a summer, or Seattle for a summer, or whatever.
Now,
So the traveling ended up becoming a big component of it as well.
yes. Now, we had much different fathers, but I do remember part of the excitement of going to my dad's was he was a bachelor
Yeah.
who had disposable income. My mother did not. She was flipping
Yeah.
the bill for 3
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
We would go there, and he had a VCR. He had on TV. He ordered pizza for every meal.
On TV, he had it on TV.
And so my brother and I would go there, and he would mostly go to the bar. Like, we go to his house for the weekend, but he would go to the bar, and we would just fucking watch VHS tapes, order food, drink pop, fucking eat cookies. And it was a Bacchanalia.
Yeah.
Was there a big shift in the environment when you would go from moms to dads?
A little bit for a period, but eventually, lucky for him, he ended up really finding the person that he was meant to be with.
Right.
In Rita, my stepmom. So,
How
who was
soon? At
really
what
my
age?
mom. Oh, well, I mean, they had actually met years before. So,
Okay.
she had been around, pretty much like right around the divorce.
Right.
kind
Okay.
of.
Okay.
And
And you know what's interesting? I wonder if you have this as well. I had no problem with my father remarrying. Like he married this gal Tammy. I liked her right out of the gates.
Yeah.
She was like super nice to me, and she was feminine. Now, when my mom remarried, I fucking hated it. Like, there'd be a new stepdad in the mix,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh god, there's another alpha male on the scene, and we're gonna now live by his program,
Yeah.
and I hated it. Like, I never extended the welcome mat to the dudes like I did to the
There's
mom.
something about stepdads that are always
Yeah,
there's just something
precarious.
else. I mean, my dad and I have a game whenever we're watching football, and they cut to the head coach. We have to guess what kind of stepfather they would be. And whenever I go see Rich Eisen, it's this whole game where we go. He just shows me photos of different coaches. So, what kind of stepfather is he? He's a stepfather that just is always asking where the remote is.
Right.
Where's the remote?
Did you have more than one stepfather?
I didn't have any stepfather.
Oh, you didn't? Your mother never remarried?
No, she never remarried.
Did she date dudes?
Not really. No.
Did she join the monastery?
She
The
didn't
nun-
join. Well, she found God.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So that was definitely
Is she still
a
alive?
big part of it. No, she passed away.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
At what age?
She passed away in 2002.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah. So she was 49.
Breast cancer or something?
Lung cancer.
That's what my dad died of. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah. He was
Sorry.
62. How old was your mom?
49.
Oh, fuck, is that young?
Yeah.
And it's very quick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Small cell carcinoma?
Pretty quick. Yeah. I mean, there was a period there when it was looking pretty good. But then it went downhill very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was, that was also like 5 months after Orange County came out. So it's like
what
a
a
lot of shit
weird-
was happening like all at once. And she was diagnosed when
Yeah,
I was making that.
Were you feeling guilty for having success while this bad? Like, when you would be enjoying the
I was
success of
not-
having been in
well-
Orange County, would you go like, what a piece of shit I am? I should be worried about my mom. Or
No, it was sort of like, oh God, of course this is all happening at once. That
Yeah.
sort of just seems
So like kind
to
of an
be like
injustice?
a life thing.
Right.
Where
Like a
everything
Murphy's
always
Law.
happens. So I just sort of went like, oh, okay, I've got to deal with this. But really, what it did was it showed how unimportant ultimately the work stuff was, and the life stuff was much more important. And it kind of fucked me up in the head later on, because then I'd go back, she dies and all of the stuff that is accompanied with that
siblings?
comes with that. I have one full sister and 2 half brothers. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, can I ask
LA.
really quick how old you are?
Pizza.
Okay. No, we're not there yet.
I
We're not there yet.
was 23, I think.
23. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. She was 22 when she had you or something? No. You
Yeah,
said-
my parents were young.
Good
My
for
parents
them.
were really young.
Very horny.
Yeah,
Not very protected.
College, baby. And so I come back to LA and I'm like trying to do work, and it's supposed to be this great time because, congratulations, you don't have to do TV anymore. It was like that era of stuff. And so here are all these movies, but all the movies are like teen stuff. And I've just gone through this crazy experience.
Yeah, you're
So
feeling very adult.
I
at this
just said,
moment.
no, I'm not doing any of that shit. And
Yeah.
and as a result, it didn't work for a long time.
Uh-huh.
So there was just this component of like, we were talking earlier about when you're single, you don't have kids. Like, I was very fortunate in that I didn't really spend a lot of money. I had been on a TV show for 2 years. I had made some movies, so I'd had more money than
A kid
than
at
kids
23 should have, yeah.
But I wasn't spending it.
Right.
And so I had, I had fuck you money.
Right, sure.
Which was,
You can
why don't
live.
you go do this, Tad Hamilton movie? Nah, I don't want to do that. Oh, you got some fuck you money? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably only hurting your career.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Do you think the fact that you didn't go out and blow a bunch of your money at 23 is because you grew up with money? Because I fetishized money so much that I would have had to have driven a Corvette at 23 if I could have afforded one.
I don't... Yes and no. I mean, the reality is that what... We definitely grew up with money for sure, but it's not it's nowhere near the amount of money people would assume.
Right.
But regardless,
Yeah, I'm picturing silver spoons, just so you know, in my head. Like, I think you had a train in your living room.
And look-
and the stocking was like 6 feet tall.
only at Christmas time.
Okay,
Only at
okay.
Christmas time would the train come out. And that was just a small one. You couldn't ride it.
I
It
don't
was
even
just
want
around
to.
the
I
Christmas
don't
tree.
even know if I want to know that it wasn't that, because it's so fun when I think about you on your train.
But the thing is that, and I think there might be a similar thing in your experience being a child of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much money that my mom was getting in alimony.
Yeah.
But what I heard all the time is we don't have the money.
Yes, sure.
We don't
sure.
have money for that.
Right.
Your
right.
dad has that. You don't
Right.
have that.
Yeah.
And so it was never like money is no object. It was money is
The
very
biggest object.
the biggest object, and so things were incredibly special. And trips were incredibly special. And so I don't know. I also didn't, because I didn't grow up in the sort of post. There's a very definitive line, I think, in my father's career where things just become stratospheric and very different.
Yeah. Is that big?
No, it's more like Forrest Gump era.
Oh, right.
And my experience growing up was all prior to that.
Yes.
So
I have this with my sister, by the way. But my mother didn't make much money. We barely got by. Then she started this business, and when I left the house, the business became very successful. And she went to the nicest private school in Michigan.
It's literally the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
It really is,
Yeah.
because it's just all that I sort of knew, and the what my experience was like growing up, that ceased to exist for my siblings, because it became a different kind of existence for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, for me, I just have a totally different, topographical map of my, young life that has sort of made me sort of given me the view that I have now.
Right.
Which
I would assume you're ultimately grateful for.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Because it's sort of, it's the grounding thing in the circus.
Well, you have a
I
hunger.
love the circus.
Like, you can be the greatest actor on planet Earth. You can be Marlon Brando. But if you are not starving, if you're not hungry for that, you just can't really do it.
Yeah,
I don't think,
absolutely.
Right? Like, you got to have a fire in you.
And I like having a very, very different life than people assume that I have.
Yeah, sure.
And I like having, a large majority of that, really like unknown. You know what I mean? Because there's so many people that just go like, oh, I know everything there is to know about that dude.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, no.
Yeah, well, that is the part, though, that I would imagine we're very much different on, which is like, to me, because I had no 1 degree separation of celebrity, it still was the fantasy in my head up until 30 years old that if I had achieved that or attained that, I wouldn't really have to brush my teeth anymore or work out or watch what I eat. Like, I would just enter this other realm of existence.
The later Brando.
Yes. Where America loved me, and then everything's kind of solved. And I do wonder if you're having such a firsthand account of it, and being your father is probably more human to you than anyone else. Going like, oh no, this is a dude who still's got a fucking like hem and haw, or whether he eats too much mashed potatoes or whatever the fucking thing is. Just the human foibles, they don't go away.
No, they don't. And I can look at pretty much any person and any big celebrity, and the allure is not the same.
The veil's pulled back for you.
And that, but there are still some that there's a hint of it, and you're like, oh, that's cool.
I would guess for you it's still musicians.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's musicians.
Yeah, you still have like a fantasy that they do.
Musicians. Yeah.
They leave stage and then they take an elevator up to a cloud
But
and they
what's
party
so
up there.
funny? But what's so funny is like, even the musicians that I've gotten to know, we find so many parallels in our lives that it's almost the exact same thing, man. Like, everyone is basically just trying to figure shit out.
Yeah.
And some people have it figured out a little bit better than others. And I was very fortunate in that there was an example for me as to not the right way,
Right.
but a right way of doing things. And a way to maybe
It appears
stay a
to-
little bit more on the track than other people
Yes.
do. Do you know what I mean?
Well, look, I've met a bunch of my idols, and your father being one of them. Like, I'll never forget when I met him. It was like at a valet line waiting to leave Century City, some like night before TV thing, right?
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he's like, oh my God, I heard a story. I heard you tell this story. like he knew that I told a story, which
Yeah.
blew my fucking mind. First, I was like, how does he even know who I am? And then he knows I have this story,
Yeah.
and then he wanted me to tell it.
Wants to hear the story.
And I told, I know exactly what it was, because I had worked with your stepmom, Rita, on Old Dogs.
Oh, yes.
And I think I told a story in a makeup trailer that somehow made it to him, and then he wanted to hear it firsthand. And just the overall experience
Yeah.
was one of the rarest I've had, because he lived up to everything I'd hoped he would be. In general, it doesn't go that
No,
way
it doesn't.
when you
No, it
when you
doesn't.
meet your heroes, and he really did. So I will just say he is kind of a shining example of, like, to your point, he seems to have navigated about as good as one can navigate the whole thing.
Well, that is, I feel like, especially now that I've been doing this for as long as I have, and thankfully my window hasn't closed yet, so I'm
Right.
still able to do it.
We'll still be able to judge those cooking shows
Exactly.
for a little while longer.
At least we got those. But I've also been around and seen people that I came up with reach,
Yeah.
super crazy levels.
Yeah.
And I know kind of what that experience is like for them. And,
I've watched it too.
And they're able to like go, I can talk with you about this because you sort of understand. I go, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is...
It's a very isolating thing. I don't
It's
think people recognize how isolating
it's
it is.
incredibly isolating.
Yeah.
And it is I've seen it shake people to their core where they become completely different people in a good way, in a bad way, and all sorts of
And
all
I
sorts
find
of
myself
scenarios.
defending, because I have a friend in particular who has become like one of the biggest stars in the world. And I've just, watched that whole ride and just thought, I do sympathize a ton.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I've been able to watch it and go like, ooh, that is actually not what I wanted. So
Yeah.
that's comforting to me.
And then you have your kids, and
Yes.
and you go, oh, okay,
They can
I
have
would
a
much rather do this.
But what you have accomplished is miraculous. I feel like what I've accomplished is miraculous because I left this little town in Michigan and
Yeah.
I came out here, and it's very hard to end up employed in this business.
Yes.
And I feel a tremendous amount of pride about that. And it is, in my family, a huge accomplishment. Is there any resentment for you that you have accomplished so much, but by comparison, it kind of like it takes this tremendous accomplishment and it's just unfortunately being measured against this other stratospheric, once in a generation accomplishment?
It can feel like you're just banging your head against a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
definitely have.
I don't know if it bothers you, but for me, I feel like this sense of deep sorrow for you that you maybe couldn't recognize what a gigantic accomplishment you've achieved. Like I don't want you robbed of that.
Yeah. No. Well, thank you. I mean,
Like you were the lead of Orange County at 21 or 2 years
Yeah.
old, and you crushed it. Like that is a 1 in 10 million proposition.
your better half should always be able to put things in perspective for you.
Yeah.
And my wife has been incredible at being able to put things in perspective for me.
Oh, that's good. She's
And
your
to help
cheerleader.
me, to sort of help me. And it's funny because when I was younger, I was always really fancied myself like a super positive guy,
Uh-huh.
And then, I met her and I said, I'm a positive guy. She goes, you're not a positive guy. You're incredibly negative. About certain things. I sometimes I have a hard time seeing the forest through the trees, but there is, there's like stages of it. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
When I was starting off, I was just sort of just lovingly naive and didn't think it was as big a deal as it was.
But do you think you were telling yourself that as a mantra, or you did believe it on a cellular level?
I think I was just simply unaware.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
you're in your own little
the way
egocentric 20-year-old.
In a strange way, and this is literally something that I'm thinking about for the first time, so it's probably wrong. But in a strange way, it is kind of like when you're the big fish in a small pond, and you're like, "Oh, I'm the shit. I'm going to go to this town and be awesome," and then you go there, and it's not like that.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's kind of like what it was, and not because I thought I was the shit. Not that I thought
Yeah.
I was this amazing actor.
Yeah.
But I just thought it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
And I thought that people would just that I would get the benefit of the doubt of like, oh no, he's his own person.
Yes.
And he's great. and man, I'm so glad I gave him the time,
Yeah.
so that I could learn that.
Well, it's such a double-edged sword because right out of the gates,
And that doesn't happen.
and I'm aware of you for one thing.
Yeah.
And then escaping that is hard. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like the Brad Pitt would always say, like, his issue was he's so good looking, and he's like, that is the foot in the door.
Yeah.
But then also conversely, once you're in the door, all you're thinking is, oh, everyone just thinks I'm here because I'm good looking. So
Yes.
it's very tricky for him to.
Or that you're only good looking and you must be dumb.
Yes.
Yes. And so all of those, whatever those versions are for like the son of or daughter
Yeah.
of, that's all there.
Well, I have a particular interest in this because I'm raising two girls.
Yep.
And one of them, I don't think I'll be able to keep her out of show business. Like,
Yep.
it's going to be that. And
Yep.
so I'm trying to be very aware of all that. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to, like, I had Ritter on recently. And do you know Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Loveliest guy on the planet.
Sweet guy.
And I genuinely wanted his, like, what did John do right? What did he do wrong? Because I want to do right. And there's no roadmap. It's not like I have buddies who I call, like, hey, man, your wife's famous as fuck. Your wife's a Disney princess. So what do you guys do when...
Hey, your wife's America's sweetheart.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. I mean, I could literally only call, like, I don't know, John Krasinski or something. I don't even know who to call. So it's, it doesn't open itself up to a lot of outside.
You can call John. Hey, your wife's Mary Poppins. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, right. So you're married to Mary Poppins. I'm married to Princess Anna. What the fuck are we doing with these kids? Like, how are we going to prevent them from being assholes?
Yeah, I mean that. Oh man, that is that's a pizza that we'll answer later because I don't know.
I can't believe I'm even in the situation to have to contemplate that.
I know. It's very surreal and it's very hard and I don't know.
Luckily, let me just add, Jason is third generation.
That's right.
So his grandpa, Tex something, is like in the Country Western Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So at least his dad had some experience being places where dad's getting a ton of attention and people are asking for autographs and where do I fit in. So I think he was great about that because he had some experience.
I remember having a very funny moment because like I know a lot of second generation people that have become that have had success on their own, but but I'm not like super best friends with a bunch,
right?
And
so it feels like a fun support group could be.
Well, it's this weird thing because you technically you have something in common, but you don't really like talk about it too much, or maybe that person talks about it way too much. Okay. And you're like, no. But I remember having this funny moment with Jason where we were at sometimes we would both do this thing, the Thrilling Adventure Hour, where we do guest and a voice on this like radio show performance at Largo. And we were sitting down at some table and we were all signing the posters for that night's show. And some woman, we were sitting next to each other, and someone came up to us and basically like to both of us just said, "We love your dads."
Yes.
And basically was just like, I don't know why you're here.
Yes.
But your dads are great.
By the way, I get the same thing with people telling me how much they love Kristen. Like, they'll tell me how much they love Kristen for 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I just kind of run out of ways to agree. I'm like, I know, she's the greatest.
Yeah.
And that's why I married her. Yeah, I got her. And then
just
I'm
come
like,
up with that patter.
I'm like, and at a certain point, I just want to go, I'm so sorry she's not here for you to tell her.
I mean,
Well, and in fact, when we were on that precariously tall stage, I made a joke, and I wasn't sure how you were going to take it, but there was a moment where I thought the stage we were on was going to come crashing down and we were going to die.
Yeah.
And I said, I almost wish we'd be alive to read the headline. Kristen Bell's husband and Tom Hanks' son die in tragic stage collapse. And as I said that joke, there was this moment for me of panic, like, oh, is this going to be something he laughs at?
Is this okay?
Or yeah, and then I was just really relieved when you laughed hard about it because there we were in the same boat. That invariably someone else's name would be brought into our obituary.
Well, that's like when you're sitting on a plane and all of a sudden someone much more famous gets on the plane and you go, oh, Brad Pitt and others perish in plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just but like we have this, like the lady said this thing, and it was so funny because we didn't need to say anything. Like we both just looked at each other and went, and he went, all right, who's next?
Yeah.
And that was sort of it.
And then ironically, you two are two of my favorite actors of my generation.
Oh, really? Well,
100%.
He's so good.
He's so special.
He really is special.
Yeah, he has the magic pixie dust.
He really does.
Yeah.
And you find ways to communicate with certain people in a way that is a little bit distant, and then you find other ways to be able to talk with other people, and it's okay to bond. You know? What I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whenever someone just comes up and goes, "Oh man, you just look and sound so much like him," and I just say, "That's not true. I'm younger and I am much better looking," and then I walk away because there's nothing.
Right.
That's as much of that conversation as I want to have.
But I think that's a really good exit line because you deliver a good joke and you're amiable.
Yeah.
And then
You say it with a smile and
they
walk away.
basically have a punchline they can repeat.
was
And then he said,
There was only one lady that said, "Oh, but you have the ego." I burst out laughing.
good
and I
for
said,
her.
like, that's true. Sure.
Oh, that's
We're gonna let
correct.
you have that one.
the one upside, I've said this on here a million times. So when you're on the outside and you're fantasizing about Hollywood again, you go like, for me, the first two stops were rich and famous. Like those two things were going to cure all things.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I didn't anticipate, which is the true magic thing I wish that everyone could experience, is you get to be around people that are quite special in that they've dedicated their life to this thing. They've risen to the top of their profession, and you get to commingle with them. And to me, that is the thing that's like very enviable, and the thing I feel immense gratitude for. So I have to imagine growing up around like Martin Short, right? He was around a lot.
Yes, he was.
He is hands down the funniest human being in real life.
And one of the most delightful human beings you'll ever find.
Yes, I had the very rare opportunity to like be at his house up in Canada in Muskoka.
Oh, yeah.
Play ping pong with
The
him and
lake.
stuff. And I was just like, talk about an over deliver as a person. Like as a kid, I used to spike my hair up at top and do the triangle.
Yes.
bit.
I did
What
the
was
Ed
that character?
Grimley.
Yeah, Ed Grimley.
I did the Ed Grimley.
Yeah, I have videos of me being Ed Grimley.
Yeah.
And then I was playing ping pong with him. I'm like, even better in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, much better. But that not everybody's like that.
For sure.
Not everybody is like that. And,
Yeah.
I think the thing that is most fascinating and has become more fascinating for me as I've gotten older is finding out who the people are that have the right perspective on things.
Yeah.
And realize that it's an incredible amount of hard work and dedication and drive and passion and humility and a little bit of ego and all of these things. But there's also this incredible sense of just like luck and timing.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And the thing, like, I don't really like, the only time that I talk shop with people, it's really like, hey, how old were you when you got that job or this, or how old were you when you released that record? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And all of those conversations I always find to be so fascinating because
Those are generally depressing for me because always the answer ends up being they were much younger than me, and it just confirms my notion that I'll never get to do some thing I wanted.
Well, there is that component to it, which that's like the scar that I just love picking. I was 23 and I wasn't like that, and I'm just never going to get that again. But there is
Like Donald Glover. I watch this guy and I'm
Yes.
like, oh, awesome. You're just working on every single level perfectly at that age.
Yes.
Cool.
Wow. That must have been great.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to have written on 30 Rock just that.
Yes.
But like, there's a component of that I find really interesting. You know, if I'm attracted to this idea of, I love running away and joining the circus, but yet still wanting to have a little bit of a punch clock mentality in my personal life. but I'm also driven by like trying to find that thing that's next and trying to evolve things and look at things much differently than people would necessarily assume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well-
and when when I find other people that are also like that,
Yeah.
that's exciting because then you actually feel like you're really learning from that other person.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that maybe that other person is like a Marty Short or somebody like that.
Right. And now when you've endeavored to create things out of nothing on your own, they have thus far been documentaries.
Yeah.
And why is it that called you? So you did Tower Records.
I did All Things Must Pass, the Tower Records doc.
And then you did a one about the
Eagles of Death Metal.
Yes, which I
Yeah.
haven't seen, which I'm dying to see.
I'll get you.
Yeah, I
DVD.
would love that.
I'll
Send
get
me
you
like
that.
a link with
I'll
a
send you link.
password.
I'll send you the password. I'll send you my AOL password. Don't worry. Yeah. So like basically, what had happened was I was in New York.
We're not there yet. We're getting
Damn,
really
damn.
close. We're getting
Shit,
close.
shit. But I was in New York, and a lot of the people that I was friends with were already sort of partnered up were already had writing partners. And this was around the time where it was just so painfully obvious that if you want to actually make something, you have to create it.
Right.
And everyone that I sort of knew had gone on to incredible careers writing their own stuff,
Right.
starring in it, casting a future America's sweetheart,
Right.
or America's new best friend McLovin, and become, these huge movie stars and all that sort of stuff. But all my friends had already had partners, and I can't write by myself.
Right.
I have like severe like ADD, like I can't stand still and like focus. Like,
Yeah.
don't give me a to-do list because I'll like to do one
Right.
of that. And so I wanted to do something creative, but I just didn't know what it was. And I had heard about Tower closing, and I'm from Sacramento, and Tower's from Sacramento, and I found out about Russ Solomon and what his sort of history was, and I was like, that sounds like a documentary. For whatever reason, I had been watching a lot of documentaries at that time. And for me, there's this thing of if you can actually get the story from the real people, isn't that so much better?
I'm a big junkie myself. I think I prefer them at this point to narrative. Yet I have no idea how they're made, really, because I've not been on a set.
Neither did I.
Yeah, so it would be intimidating.
Neither
for me.
did I. And it gave me something, to like research. It gave me things to watch, to read. It was something that I could just talk to people. Really,
And on the surface, it's cheap compared to a movie, right? At least you're telling
cheapish.
yourself that
I'm
when you
telling
get
myself
into
that.
it.
But really what I'm doing is I'm not sitting down and writing it. Which is really, I think, what it was. Is
Right.
that I knew that I couldn't just sit down and write. I wasn't, ready to sit down and
Although
write something.
ironically, there is a tremendous amount of writing in a documentary, which you probably found out later.
Found out the hard way.
Yeah.
much later on. Yeah. And so the Tower thing, that took 7 years. That was a very long process because there's all sorts of factors into why that sort of took so long. But as we were making that, we were also making little short documentaries for like KCRW, the radio station here in Los Angeles, and we did some 30 for 30 shorts and some other stuff. So we had sort of got the sort of machine up and running.
Right.
And then I came back from Fargo and said, okay, we have to fucking finish this thing. Like, we have to finish this.
Yeah.
And, before I knew it, like, it was like a real thing.
Right.
Which was
It's a
great.
legitimate movie.
And we made all of our money back. So that's a
Nearly
success.
impossible, yeah.
So you're allowed to go make another one, and it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Still super fucking hard.
Yeah.
So docs have just been this thing that has been so beneficial and changed my life completely.
Don't you think that you're maybe a little drawn to it being an antidote to Hollywood in the way that you were drawn to New Zealand being an antidote? Because
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like almost a journalistic movie, right? It has this kind of
well, there's no glory.
right. Unless
There's
you're
no
Michael
glory.
Moore, there's like a single.
There's no glory in it.
Yeah.
And I really they were just done because I
Love the topic.
needed to do it,
Right.
and wanted to do it. I'm just the amount that I learned in terms of being creatively happy, even if it's not something that's out into the world. Like once it's out into the world, it's no longer mine.
Right.
I have no more control over it. I have no control over how people respond to it.
Yeah.
I've always said that there are three miracles with movies or entertainment or whatever you want to call it. It's a miracle if you get it made.
Sure.
And that, I mean, there's a subgroup of like a million miracles within that. Like
Yeah.
it's a miracle it doesn't rain on
Yeah.
day 46.
Yeah.
It's a miracle if it's any good, which is some person can think it's great, another person can think it's shit.
Sure.
And then it's a miracle if anyone sees it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just...
It's a miracle cubed.
And that was so... Like, when I realized that, that made it so much harder to like, find work and to do work because you were obsessing over the odds of being able to do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And what's weird is having done it makes it seem less doable, ironically.
Yes.
Like if someone came, I made Hit and Run for $1 million. If
Yes.
someone came to me and said, I've got $1 million, go make another car chase movie, I go, you can't do
Absolutely
that.
not.
There's no way I could possibly do it. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And it's a little bit... I mean, it's the same
It's
thing.
so weird. You got to be dumb enough.
But to be able to have had that creative output of Fargo and then Tower and then No Sami while also doing Life in Pieces while also having kids,
Yeah.
like it's all about that
That's
know,
a damn
Lady
nice
Justice scale. It's just trying to
That's
find
a buffet
that scale.
bar of pretty good stuff.
It
in my
is,
opinion.
and that's when having a really smart partner helps because she's the one that's saying like, "Will you look at what you're fucking
Yeah.
doing
Pull
right
your
now?"
head out of your ass.
Like, okay, so it's hard.
Yeah.
All
Every actor in America wants to be
Yeah.
in Fargo.
Yeah.
Everyone wants their own movie they get to go out and talk about.
Yeah.
And everyone wants a paycheck.
Yeah.
So shut the fuck up.
But like,
Why'd you
with
go to
the-
New York?
The pizza.
Okay, duh. Did you go there with any kind of aspirations of doing stage or anything?
No, so we moved to New York for a change of pace
Uh-huh.
because I needed something different and I needed to be exhilarated by the place I was living because I
Uh-huh.
had just come from New Zealand that was so
Right.
exhilarating. So I was in love.
Well, they call New York America's New Zealand.
Well,
It's long known.
it's just
Yeah.
one island.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just one island. Well, actually, that's not true. There are many islands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
North and South Island,
Yeah, there-
Queens, and
yeah, there's Long Island, and Manhattan Island, and Staten too. But so I was in love. So we said, hey, let's move to New York together. So we moved to New York together, and it was just because I wanted to just say, hey, when I'm 40 or older,
Yeah.
actually. I don't want to say like, oh, I wish I had lived in New York for a
yeah,
little bit.
for sure.
Order pizza
Well,
for
I'm
everybody.
glad you found your way back to us.
Yeah.
How else would you be on? We don't record this in New York ever. Just so you know, in the future, if you ever want to be on the show again, you want to go back to New York.
If you record in New York,
Yeah.
let me know.
Okay.
And then at the very end, I don't want to be the guest.
Okay.
But at the very end, I want you to say, Colin Hanks, what are you doing here in New York? And I'll just say, I came for the pizza. And then that's the end. And then we walk away.
You've got a deal because I think we're going to do a live show. And if you could actually carry out a Bleecker Street pizza for me, that would be like a 10 on a 10 on a 10.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Colin.
Thank you.
You're so goddamn enjoyable to be around. I
Oh.
hope we judge some kind of reality show again in the near future.
Please.
Okay, now time for Chapter 2 with Allison Tolman. Allison Tolman, welcome to the Armchair Expert.
Thank you.
You live but feet from us, so it wasn't really too big of a deal for you, was it?
Yeah, just popped right on over.
Yeah.
So close.
And you're from Texas, right?
I am.
Yeah, what part of Texas? Because when I read about you, it said a county. Whenever they just list a county, I feel like you must be in a very small town.
Fort Bend County.
Yeah.
No, I grew up right outside of Houston. So
Oh, okay.
I say I'm from Houston. Really, I'm from the suburbs of Houston.
Yeah, I say Detroit, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Sugar Land, Texas.
Oh, that's
Just south of Houston.
And did it get the name? I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh,
I ruined it.
Sneezus interruptus. Was it named Sugarland because it had some kind of sugar refinery
Yes.
history? It did.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So it's
Yeah.
right on the nose.
Right on 100% right on the nose.
And were your family involved at all in that industry, or it was long gone?
It was
since-
long gone. My dad was in the oil business.
Oh, he
He
was?
a geologist for.
So he located deposits of oil.
He just like did magic.
Okay.
I don't honestly. I couldn't even begin to tell you what my father did for all
As
those
a
years. He
father,
loves
I'm
rocks.
very disappointed in that answer.
I know that's a terrible answer.
And as a kid, when you guys would go on like little walks and stuff, would he say,
He
"This
would
is
say,
an
Look at
igneous"?
the shale deposits here
Oh,
that
yeah.
created the. And he'd be like, Dad.
Because it's anything he said was so nerdy,
Anything
right?
was so nerdy, and then like
That's
you know,
where me and Mick Jagger shot dope in '74. You're like,
Dad.
oh.
Exactly. And like every Father's Day when fathers just get like a mug or a tie,
Mm-hmm.
he got rocks or geodes from us. We were like, Dad will love this.
Yeah.
That I
Do
found
you-
at this gift store.
And do you think he did? Or
I mean,
do
I'm
you-
sure he loved them as much as anybody loves another tie or a mug, right? Like, oh,
Well-
my kid,
But similarly, my father loved, or at least we believed he loved, elephant figurines.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically, he believed that a elephant with the trunk up was good luck. I don't know if this is something, this is his own proclivity or he had read that. But so yes, invariably every single holiday or birthday, he got fucking elephants. And when he died, I was in charge of cleaning out like his house. And I'm like, what on earth am I going to do with all these fucking elephants we bought him over the years? And then I kind of felt what he was probably shouldering. Like it's too big of a collection. It's
I think that's a common thing too when you mentioned once as a kid that you're like, you know what I like? For me, it was pigs. I was like, that's my favorite animal. I said at one point in time, and then it had to be my favorite animal forever
Sure,
because
sure.
that was like I mean, my mom was like, how about this wallpaper when we redid my room and like figurines and toys and
Yeah. And if you're a proper codependent like I am, you can't bear to tell the truth
No.
that you now like
Well, like
giraffes.
you kind of like lose where the line of like you're like, do I like pigs or do I like
Right.
pigs because I'm surrounded by them? Like, where does it start? Where
Yeah.
does it end? What does it mean?
Yeah, it's a chicken or an egg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A great little factoid about Houston. I don't know if you know this, but they passed Detroit as the most obese city in the country about 10 years ago. Which I guess we were sad to lose a trophy, but also that maybe that was a good sign. That's just it. And that's something that Monica will fact check at the end of this.
Fact check
Oh, good.
all of the facts.
All the claims that I
Do
make.
you ever just like throw things in to give her more work to do?
No,
He
that's what's
doesn't need to.
that's what's embarrassing. I'm so sincerely think I know all these facts, and then it is revealed that I know about 40% of
Yeah,
the facts.
you
I
know a
think.
good. Oh, that's a fact. I'm gonna have to check. See,
We gotta do some math
a
this
circle.
time.
Yeah. So your dad's a geologist, so he's a very smart guy. I have to assume.
Yes.
Where'd he go to college?
My parents both went to the University of Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then were they from Arkansas?
So they both moved around a fair bit growing up because they both had parents in the military.
Oh,
But they ended up in Arkansas at the time when they were both going to college. So that's where they ended up in college and where they met.
And then did a job bring one or either of them to Sugarland, or they were like, it's a great place.
It was my dad's job. But before that, we lived in Houston. We lived in England, Oklahoma.
Not like England.
No,
Texas.
England,
Texas,
England,
yeah.
Kansas.
Yeah.
No.
England,
we
Kansas.
Moved, we moved to Croydon, outside of London. We lived there for a while when I was really little. We went from there to Oklahoma. We went from Oklahoma to the Panhandle of Texas. And then we went to Sugarland, and they've been there ever since.
Okay, so you too moved around quite a bit.
Yes.
That's how did that work out for you? Because to me, that spells a lot of being new at a lot of schools and all that. Was that happening?
They've been in Sugarland now since I was in third grade, I think.
Oh, okay.
So all of that moving around was at the very beginning of my life. So I think that I remember that move being hard. I remember being like, how will I make friends?
Yeah.
And being so nervous, et cetera, et cetera.
I feel like third grade in particular, or at least in my experience, was definitely where people were starting to bond. Like people actually had interest. They played soccer or they didn't. They were starting to reveal themselves as smart, and all these little pockets are created, right?
Yeah, it felt in retrospect, it felt big that I had left where I was and was in this new place. And I'm thankful that we didn't have to do that anymore.
Right. I'm going to make a big generalization right now, but the many kids I've met who were army brats, I think is the term. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
Like that is very rough to be constantly uprooted. And,
Yeah. So
A guy broke my nose. I don't know if you noticed it's crooked, but the guy who
can't
broke
stop
my
looking at
nose
it.
was an army brat, and then forever to me, I think that
You're
probably that's
I got
part of the
problems.
recipe. That might be some of the causality of this crooked nose I now have. Is his army bratism.
Army bratness.
Yeah, it couldn't have been what you did to initiate this.
In my defense, I was sitting Indian style on my hands on the floor, so it's a very cheap shot move. I just want to defend my.
Yeah, that's fair. What could you have done?
There's
He has
really
a sticky
nothing you can
mouth.
do.
You probably said something rude.
Yeah, off air I'll tell you what happened. But and then so what pocket of kids did you end up in?
I think I was immediately the school that I went to had GT programming, gifted and talented, is what they call it, and I was in those classes for like English and reading and all that stuff.
Right.
So I think I think that by that age I was with the kids that
Academics.
that I would be with all through middle school and high school. Would be those kids.
We blew right by Mom. Dad's a geologist. What did Mom do? What degree did she achieve at Arkansas?
She has her master's is in mass
Jesus,
communication.
she's got a
I think
master's.
she's got a master's, and her undergrad degree is in
Her undergarment degree.
Her undergarment degree is in lace. No, I think journalism. I think she was a journalist. She was a newspaper.
She was.
woman. She worked for the big paper in Arkansas, and put my father through his grad school.
Oh.
When she worked so that he could go to school.
Are they still married?
Yes.
That's pretty incredible.
Very happily.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
That's nice. So obviously, academics is a priority in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you got to go to college, I'm assuming, or that's expected of you.
That was expected of us, and certainly they were going to help us pay for it.
Because they're fucking rich. They're loaded.
It's just all that geologist money.
Yeah.
That geologist money, scientist money. But yeah, so that was definitely a priority. And then, my brother and I...
You have two older brothers, right?
I have two older brothers and a little sister.
Okay. Let's not talk about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to talk about
Thank
the
you.
two older brothers. Yeah.
No. So yeah, my oldest brother and my little sister are both adopted, and my other brother
Wait,
and I
say
are
that
biological.
again. You're older?
My oldest brother and my little sister are adopted.
Okay.
And my other brother and I are both biological.
Okay. And did this thing that happens to a lot of people I know happen where they were trying forever, they couldn't have a baby, then they adopted and she got pregnant that afternoon?
I know that happens to so many people.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
No, that's not how it, they had my brother, and then they actually had kids from the foster care system. My mother and my father, I say my mother because I tend to say my mom when really I mean both my parents, because she kind of leads the charge and is the talker and the sort of force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they got married at 18 and 19 years old. They've been married for a really long time. They got married super young, but almost immediately they had this real sense of duty to community and what can we do? Look at all we have as they had nothing, but they were we can help children. So they had foster kids at 21 years old. They were taken in foster
That's
kids.
crazy. What was the bedrock of that? Are they religious?
No.
Wow, they were just good people, and they've stayed married. I don't believe this story
It's
at
crazy.
all.
I know, and it's
Your
true.
mother's never had a French lover?
I don't think
Jesus.
so. I don't think so. But others people think that because we're Texans and because I have a lot of times, when you have these big families with kids that are adopted from other countries and biological kids, it's because they're a religious family.
Yeah.
There's some Christian bedrock there.
But your dad was scientist first and
not
foremost.
Us. Yeah, my parents both grew up Christian Scientists.
Oh, okay.
Which is that sort of dying religious sect where the thing that they're kind of known for is that really hardcore Christian Scientists don't do take medicine. They don't do medicine.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my parents were never that hardcore. Neither were their parents. But that's pretty much like as liberal as you can be without falling off of Christianity and into like
Right.
Unitarianism.
Although
which is
that
what they are
sect
now.
is that's very extreme to not take medicine, right?
It is, but
This is not. I'm now getting it confused. This is not overlapping with the folks that think like bee stings and snake bites will cure you, right? Because there is also a sect
I don't
that.
think no.
Okay.
It's no.
Again, if you do believe that bee stings cure you of things, I apologize.
I don't believe that, and
Okay.
I don't think my parents do,
Okay.
or ever did. No, and I think it's like I said, it's like a shrinking religion. It's not a. No one is like now converting to. Yeah, exactly.
No one's on mission in Cambodia saying
Being
don't
like,
take medicine.
them. They're like, we don't have any.
Put that medicine down. Stop.
They're like, we have no. Thank you.
Yeah. Then I have assumed they're against vaccines as well. That's got to be like right out of the gates.
You know, I've never gone that deep into it because
No.
we never really.
It's not sexy.
practiced.
It's not sexy. You probably like.
We were like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
So we skipped
Is
right
it
over it.
because they think God will intervene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even so much that God will intervene, but that
If you're supposed to die of measles, you should.
that it's like, and it does. I mean, that falls apart when you start getting into like cancer, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like that, like if you that like the things that are affecting you physically are like not actually what's important, like not actually what's ruling your life. And that if you can, it's a lot of like mind over matter and like positive thinking and like refocusing your energies and your attention.
I like that.
Which makes, and actually all good things. And I mean, we certainly didn't grow up Christian scientists, but we grew up with those notions, I think, in the
Some
back
knowledge of it,
Yeah. So like, we don't just like take medicine when you have a headache or like
Yeah.
take Dayquil to get through the day. Like instead sleep and get rid of your cold, you know.
So I'm just going to be entirely transparent with you. I want really bad to put you in a box in my head. So I'm going to ask a few
excited.
questions. So you're a younger sister, and I feel like I have a younger sister, and I think she's nearly the exact same age as you. And there can be like an archetype that's formed from that, right? If you're looking up to the older sibling in your life as a boy, there can be these kind of characteristics that emerge, right? Like my sister fist fought a lot, which I think is uncommon for young girls to do on the bus, and I have to imagine I was a part of that problem.
You know,
Were you tomboy or anything to be with him?
a tomboy, but my brother. First of all, my adopted brother is 10 years older than me.
Okay.
There's a big
So that's like an uncle.
gap there. Yeah. There's a big gap there.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a difference there because from the times that I actually like remember have like human memories, there weren't that many years that he was in the house before he left.
Yeah.
And then my other brother he just wasn't really that kind of boy. Like, I don't think he was really fist fighting and
He wasn't.
stuff either.
He was
No.
building fort building and all this stuff. No.
I did spend a lot of years with his friend, like tagging along with his friends.
How much older is he than you?
My brother is 4 years older than I am.
Okay. Did you have crushes on all the boys?
On his friends?
Yeah. I don't even know if you like boys. I guess I should have made an
I do
assumption.
like boys.
Okay, great.
I do. I like boys. I don't remember. I guess maybe like I can remember a couple instances, a couple friends of his that I had crushes on as a little girl.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You didn't have a hope chest or anything with
No.
the
Locks of hair that
items
I'd
that they
stolen
left
at
behind.
sleepovers.
Yeah,
It's
like their jackknife they left or something.
No, I didn't have any of those.
Okay. And were you boy crazy in general at all?
No.
You weren't.
I was not. And and I still actually I don't have a lot of patience for women who I feel like it's not. I think women who were boy crazy as girls now are the type of women who will like eschew anything for like the male attention in the room. And I just have nothing.
Well, I'm
going to
show you an anomaly because Monica's boy crazy, but she would never do that.
Yeah, but not boy crazy in that I'm seeking out boys all the time. It's a different kind.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I guess.
What is your-
you're not seeking out boys
I'm
all the
not
time, but
going
you.
on dates every night, and I'm not doing that. I just
No.
like boys in general.
Yes, and you're very excited about certain boys when you're around them, which is fun.
Yeah, I get a little
Yeah, like
giddy.
she loves Mike Schur. He was here yesterday, and
He's
she
the
was
dreamy. anyone who spends 5 minutes with Mike Schur would have this. Any woman who likes boys
Mm-hmm.
would.
Yeah, a
feel
lot
the
of
same way.
qualifiers.
He's
Yeah. Any human being with a heartbeat who's currently alive who spends 5 minutes with Mike Schur would probably be in love with him.
Yeah.
But also, she's like crazy in love with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to a point where it's like your heart almost blows up, right? When you
yeah.
think about him. And she's seen Goodwill Hunting like a couple hundred times and can
I
say
used to be able to watch it in my brain.
Yeah.
Like truly, I could just close my eyes and watch the whole movie.
from credits to credits. So I would call that boy crazy.
I would use those words for that as well, but I guess when I think of boy crazy, I think of like the term that I can remember, like my mother saying when I was a kid, and like the negative connotations of that. And I would not associate that with what you're saying,
Yeah,
Monica.
it's
but
a
also
weird thing.
because you're an adult person, and again, you're not like going on all these. You're just like I just like
She's
like
not
things.
swiping left and right all day for sure. That's not happening.
Yeah, and honestly,
No.
I don't have a problem with that either. It's something about like
Needing mal approval all the
Needing-
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And-
But those
and-
are separate.
yeah,
I'm not.
they're separate.
I'm not
things.
asking. Yeah, if you needed mal approval validation. I'm just wondering. Like, did you have crushes on boys and think about them a lot?
I did. Yeah, when I was little. Yeah, I did. And like sometimes movie stars, but also sometimes characters from movies. I can remember being like, I just really
Like you would separate
I
it.
could insert myself into that film. Yeah, I could separate them.
Yeah, I unfortunately could not. And then I started meeting some of the people in real life that I was like, I thought I would jump off a bridge for. And it just, they're not their character. And it's a real bummer for me.
It's
And
very evolved to do what you
Yes.
were doing, to be able to see like, oh, that's not really that person.
Yeah.
because to this
those
day,
are
Monica
about-
thinks Matt Damon is a certified genius
He
who
is-
was a
he
janitor.
is very smart. He went to Harvard.
I haven't. Yes, he is very smart, but he is not as smart as Will Hunting. Suffice to
We'll
say,
see. I don't know.
You'll
I
see a
haven't
year
seen his
4 of
test sheet.
marriage.
She hasn't left a problem up on the board to see if he
Exactly.
can solve it.
Correct.
That's what you should just bait him. Just like if he ever comes to do the podcast, just have something on the ceiling.
That's
here.
how you should lure him to do the
Exactly,
podcast.
and
Just leave a
then-
blackboard outside the gates.
Listen, we can't crack this fucking problem. Look, you could talk or not talk. That's up to you. But certainly this problem needs solving. So did you have a love affair in high school? Did you have a boyfriend that you?
I did. No, let me see. I had my first boyfriend in high school. I was a freshman and he was a senior.
Oh
Big
boy!
get.
Yeah.
It was a big get.
Yeah.
It was a big get.
How did your folks feel about that? I can't. That'd be the one. I'm very pro sex. I'm very pro falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little dodgy on huge age gaps.
Really?
Yes,
so
like
weird.
I have 2 daughters. Because my assumption, and I'll say it and I'll offend people, but my assumption would be this senior is somehow preying on someone younger than him because he is not fully evolved with his peers, and that's why he's forced to go to a younger category. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a
It makes you kind of like
winning suitor move.
I get it.
Is this a red flag?
I get
you know, I
it.
might meet the gentleman. By the way, I will greet him in underwear with a 38 in my waistband. But I might meet him and then be bowled over by him. But I just out of the gates, I'd probably be a little apprehensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that they had that apprehension. And then they met Andrew and they really liked him. And I mean, my mother continued to have a relationship with him after he and I
Sexual or
broke up. No. No.
I'm
She just really liked him, and she
Yeah.
she helped him find a college and get in, like do his applications, and like she just
Your
really
parents really take on.
They-
They're very nurturing.
they're
sounds
very
Yeah.
very nurturing,
And
very
it's a-
nurturing. Yeah.
And it's a testament to Andrew's character that he would carry on a relationship with his ex-girlfriend's mother.
yeah.
I've done that as well, and I like that about myself, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the more
Yeah.
stand-up thing to do. It's like you
Yeah.
meet these people, you fall in love with them, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, so it didn't work out with her. I guess that's a wrap on this great thing.
Right.
But it shouldn't be a wrap on that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that was not a painful breakup. I mean, it was just kind of like it ran its course, and then he was in college, and like I
That's
certainly
not-
had breakups that were like devastating, and that wasn't one. There were never on my end any hard feelings or anything like that.
Right. So
I have a weird story real quick. I was in Rome at the Coliseum.
Rome, Texas.
Rome, Texas, at the Coliseum, which is this it's a fast food place. No. I was at the Coliseum in Rome with my current boyfriend, with Tim, and we were like walking around. This is like 3 years ago, and I stopped and I said, "That's that's Andrew Huff. That's my first boyfriend.
Like you saw him as a tourist
at the Coliseum with his wife. And I hadn't seen him
fighting a bear.
It was very weird. No, like what are the odds of that? And that I would see him in that crowd.
Had you had any
people.
contact with him?
I think I had seen him once when I was in college.
Okay.
But yeah, so I ran into him.
And then
Coliseum.
did you guys go get an espresso or something at a
No,
cafe?
we both were just like, "What is happening?" And I met his wife, and he met Tim, and we, went on our way.
Oh my
But yeah,
God!
every
You know
time
who your
I've seen
voice
him-
sounds like? It just hit me when you turned your head and thought. Do people ever say that your voice sounds like Alan's?
all the time.
Yeah. How exciting! I'm glad that didn't drive me nuts for the next while.
They say I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And more so before I started doing television, like back when it was just I was doing improv and stuff in Chicago.
Right. First of all, I just want to ask: your parents are supportive or not supportive?
Yes,
They are.
They were. Yes,
Okay.
they were supportive. And I did
That
theater
helps.
from the time that I could. I did it, community theater and whatever the school plays were. And then in high school, I was a theater kid. That's what I
Right,
did. I did
yeah.
all the plays. And
They had a term for that where I'm from, but hopefully it's
Not
not
a good
a
one?
term anymore.
What is it?
Well, in the early '90s in Michigan, you were a theater geek.
Oh, yeah.
I was expecting you to say something far.
There is
Yeah.
something worse that I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
That was also part of it. It's terrible. But
Yeah.
Was that the vibe down in Texas? Yeah.
No, I mean, again, we were in such a big, affluent suburb that I think it felt like that there was room for everybody.
Oh, that's
certainly
good.
football, sports ruled the day just like anywhere else. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like we were in a small town
Right.
and we're
the freaks
fighting for funding and you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
That was not our experience.
Right.
So yeah.
So when you graduate,
Mm-hmm.
how do you now try to put the tires to the ground or whatever the saying is? What is your course of action to be employed as an actor?
Good question. So I immediately, when my senior year of college, I went and did this big mass audition that they do every year. They do them by conference. It's called, someone listening is going to know. And
Monica.
I'll find
Yeah,
out.
yeah. She'll
It's
figure it out. Yeah.
SETCs or one of them,
Oh,
I
that
think.
sounds-
They're
that sounds-
big. They're big regional auditions where all of the
Yes, Southeastern
touring
Theater
exactly.
Conference. Yeah,
the
it's
touring companies will come and you just you sing a song, you do a monologue. All these people can watch you at once.
Can you sing a song?
I can.
I mean,
sing
not
a song.
right in this moment, but you can sing.
Yes, I sang
Wow.
and I did a monologue. And so from there, I booked a children's theater tour of Christmas Carol that was going to start the fall after I graduated. So I had a job leaving school.
That's amazing. You went to Chicago in 2009. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So there's a gap, right, from graduating to
I lived
Chicago.
I lived in Dallas and did theater in Dallas.
Okay.
And ran a theater company in Dallas and started my commercial career in Dallas.
Okay, because they cast regional spots out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were making a living doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be tricky, right? Because you can get a little comfortable and you could decide to not.
That was really what it was. As I was at the point where I was like, I'm established enough in this community that I could just stay here.
Yeah.
But I also felt like that if I ever wanted to try to go up a market size and try a different city, that I needed to do it then. I was 29, I think, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be starting out again.
At 47.
Yeah. And I wasn't in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a job that I was like, I can't leave this job. I was teaching on the side. So I decided that
You
was
went
the time
north.
to do it. Yeah.
And you started taking classes at Second City?
Yes, I did the conservatory program at Second City. It's their career training program. You have,
Okay.
It's the courses that you have to actually audition to get into.
Right. And did you love it?
I did.
Did you get cast in Fargo out of Chicago?
I did.
You did? Mm-hmm. How did that work?
Well, I had an
Before
agent.
we even touch on Fargo, it should go without saying, but I'm a huge fan of your performance in that. It was
thank you.
fucking incredible. I talk about Fargo on this podcast all the time. I think it's the
Yeah,
greatest
it comes up a
television.
lot.
It's insane. It's embarrassing to filmmakers how great the show is. And I assume I'm like a lot of folks that first season, I was like, no, you're making them show of this movie, I love the movie.
Yeah.
It's not the Coen brothers. You know, I had all these reservations about it. I had to be told by people, no, it's actually great. And then when I watched it, I was like, Jesus Christ, I like it as much as the movie or more.
I felt the same way. I was like, why would they make this into a show?
Yeah.
And then I read it and I was like, oh,
It's like making Citizen Kane the TV show. It just
Yeah.
feels weird.
Yeah.
So you're going on auditions there. You have an agent, and just
I have
one
an
of the
agent.
auditions is Fargo.
Yeah, I did commercial auditions mostly. I mean, it was very, very rare that I would audition for anything, even like Fargo.
Right.
And my agent was like, you can come in and tape for this. We'll tape you in the office and we'll put it out there. And I said, sure. And my sense was always, I mean, I always said yes to any audition.
Sure.
And then really thinking like, I knew that they were using a local casting office as their touchstone. And
Yeah.
just thinking, oh, this is good because they will have seen me actually act instead of just being like, I like tortilla chips because they're crunchy. You know?
So you had a realistic expectation, which
I had
was
I
the
had a
silver
very
lining of I'm never
realistic-
getting this, but this is going to expose me to a bunch of people, and this is
I
great.
had- exactly.
By the way, that's the greatest attitude you can have. Because,
Yeah.
in my opinion, if you go in going, I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to get everything. Now you build this entire life based on you
Yeah.
succeeding at this thing, and now the fucking stakes are so ginormous for this. But if you go in with a pretty relatively balanced expectation of I'm just going to be able to show more people what I do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it's important in this business to be able to just like take each thing for what it is. Like,
Yes.
And then be able to leave it when you go out the door.
So obviously it makes its way up the chain, right? It goes to,
Yeah.
is it Noah Hawley? Is that who ultimately probably decides?
Yeah, it made it.
Noah Hawley, by the way, is
Rachel-
the mad genius behind Fargo, to my understanding,
and
right?
Legion. Have you watched Legion?
I haven't watched Legion.
Ooh, it is a lot
Is
of
it?
fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be because it's him, but the superhero aspect kind of scared me away, right? Because is it in the Marvel universe?
Yeah, but like,
But fucked up Marvel universe.
yeah,
Okay, great.
it's a lot of fun. It's
okay.
a lot of fun.
I'm gonna watch
We need
it.
a new show.
It's just
Yeah.
like a joyous acid trip. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So it makes its way to him, and then where are you when you get a call that says you're going to be one of the leads of Fargo?
I was.
Please say on the toilet.
No, I
Oh,
was at my
fuck.
day job. I got a call that said you need to be prepared to go to New York this weekend because
How exciting!
we're pinning you.
Uh-huh.
But basically they were like, they might want to bring you in for a screen test. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I thought we were just like writing this out
Yeah.
locally. Like I was going to then get to go in for more.
For a smaller role, maybe.
Yeah, for more Chicago Fire auditions, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like I'd like completely put the actual end product out of my mind. So when my agent told me that, I was like, oh, this is very real now.
Uh-huh.
So I went to New York that weekend. I tested with Noah.
Are you in general a nervous auditioner, or you're pretty calm?
I'm nervous beforehand. I'd say I'm pretty nervous beforehand. And
Right.
then once I'm working, I'm okay. And then once I'm done, I'm pretty confident. I'm like, that went well.
Right.
I don't pick things apart very much afterwards. I'm pretty
That's
good
healthy.
about. Yeah, but
because
I'm
guess
nervous
what?
ahead of
There's
time.
absolutely nothing
There's
you can
nothing
do
you
about
can
it afterwards.
do. Yeah.
Well, Monica and I were just talking about this because she's been auditioning a lot lately during pilot season,
Mm-hmm.
and a trick I have to trick myself into saying is on the way to an audition, I go, this is an audition. You like acting, and you're going to get to go in this room and act for 10 minutes. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's that. You like it. Don't forget that. This is, stop making it, this evaluation of you,
Right.
and just remind yourself that you enjoy reading fucking lines off a
Yeah.
piece of paper and pretending you're someone else, and just leave it at that.
I try to tell myself that whenever I'm working and I haven't had a take that I really like yet, or if the director's like, we're gonna do one more, whatever you want.
A fun run.
Yeah, I try to just tell myself to do a take, like to try to put myself in the mindset, like what if this is the last time I ever got to do this?
Oh, that's cool.
Ever.
Right. Like they
have
yell
fun.
cut, and then someone sews your mouth shut.
And then an asteroid hits and you're gone. Like you never get to act again. And that really makes me. I think
you
that
need
takes
tricks.
me-
I don't know
yeah.
that you need our tricks, but you need tricks.
You gotta
I
have.
think
It's
you gotta
such a
outsmart
psychological game. Exactly. You gotta outsmart yourself.
It's like being a tennis player or something. Like just the mental warfare of it all
Yeah.
is kind of exhausting. So, and then how soon after you find out that you start finding out the other people that are going to be involved. Who was in your season? Billy Bob
Bob
Thornton was. That's
Martin.
exciting, right? You hear that?
Billy was involved before me. Billy was the
right.
only name that was attached. And so,
Right.
yeah, so I think I was cast second, maybe third, but I was announced way later because no one was
Right.
like, it was going to be like, oh, and in
Yeah.
addition to Billy Bob Thornton, this,
my God.
this girl you don't know.
They got
you know?
Allison?
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's-
Said my parents.
Yeah.
No, so I think I was cast pretty early on, but then they sort of sat on that announcement. But Noah would text me. I think I had like 6 to 8 weeks before I was really allowed to tell anyone. I mean, I told my closest, my nearest and dearest, and said, "Don't tell anybody."
Right.
Before the announcement came out, and he would text me and say, "We just signed on Colin Hanks. We're looking at."
Yeah,
You know,
he was
Martin
fantastic
Freeman,
in
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
So great. Ted was in the second season. Ted Danson.
Second,
Ted was
I
in the
believe.
second season.
Yeah, I wish you would have got to work with him a little
Too.
bit.
I met him, and he is a delight.
So
He's
dreamy.
the best.
He's a nice man.
Yeah, my wife's his co-star, and we get to spend time with him, and it's really he
Lovely.
far exceeds what
He's
you would
such
want
a
him.
nice guy. I met him at. We have a same. Maybe we have the same agent or something. But we were at Upfronts, and it was his season was either happening or it just happened or something. And his character is my grandfather.
Right.
My character's grandfather. But we're separated by seasons and time zones. Time zones?
No.
Time eras.
Time
Yeah.
periods.
Not time zones. It's all takes place in the same part of the country, everybody.
Yeah.
But
Hence
I
those
saw-
accents.
Exactly. I saw him at a dinner and was like, I have to go say something. So I went up and tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around very politely and was ready to greet someone. And I said, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm Allison.
I'm your
I play
granddaughter."
Molly. I said, you're my pop. And his face just lit up, and he was like, oh my gosh, it's you. It's so nice to meet you. Give me a big hug. And I was like, oh, I really do feel like now you're my pop.
Yeah. Now,
know?
now I'm going to race ahead because you do this. I have to imagine filming it was super exhilarating and amazing, right? It's all like probably beyond what dreams you even had for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the show airs, and then all of a sudden you get nominated for all these things. And this is your first show, right?
Yeah.
This is the first show you've been on. And you
Yeah.
get a Emmy nomination, a Golden Globe nomination, and then you win the Critics' Choice Award, right? What does your ego now do?
Just out of control. No,
No, mine would have
I
went
don't think
bizarre.
so.
I would have been like,
Mine
"Oh,
would have.
I went from the base of the mountain to the top of the mountain. So clearly, I'm going to now go. Like, I see the increments. So the next increment is Tom
guess
Cruise.
I'm gonna go ahead and win an Oscar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it's-
Did you not have moments of like,
No.
"Wow, this is how it works"? You're
I don't-
relatively anonymous, and then you're winning a Critics' Choice Award.
I felt like a couple things. I think because I wasn't young, I wasn't like, relatively, but I wasn't like 24 or something.
Right.
Like, I had been a working actor. I had been sort of like slogging through this life in its various forms for 10 years that I didn't have. I just felt fortunate. I didn't feel owed, I think.
Right,
Do you
right.
know what I mean?
Sure.
Which I think goes a long
Like,
way.
finally, you didn't feel like finally.
No, I felt
Right.
like, wow, what a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
What an incredible blessing. So that was helpful.
Well, if I can bore you with my own story, I went from 10 years of auditioning, nothing. I get the show Punked. It becomes like this kind of cultural phenomenon
Yeah.
in that little demographic. And then I get this movie Without a Paddle, and that movie comes out, makes a bunch of money. And I really start thinking, oh, well, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Will Ferrell next summer. Like it's hard not to, for me, it was hard not to go like, wow, look at these jumps. And now this was successful. So now all this other stuff's going to happen. And I denied myself the pleasure of just focusing on the current, in the present accomplishment of those
Yeah.
things and just thinking of what was next and all that. You didn't succumb to that? And if you say no, I don't believe you.
I'm not sure. I think the clearest indication I have that I was operating that way, even though I didn't feel like it, is that now this is my first pilot season. Fargo went straight to series.
Yeah.
Then the next pilot season, no one knew who I was, so I didn't have a pilot season because the show hadn't started airing yet.
Right.
Then I was in New Zealand making Krampus. Then
Okay.
I was attached to my show Downward Dog through a pilot season. And so this is the first time I've ever been unemployed and like looking for a job during this time in Los Angeles, and I feel like a working actor again.
Yeah.
I feel like the wind, like the Fargo wind has finally left my sails. And I'm like, I remember what this is.
I'm going to tell you really quick, it will never leave your sails.
Thank you.
It really won't.
Yeah.
It's in the same way that like Vincent D'Onofrio will always have been in Full Metal Jacket. Will Arnett will always have been Job. Like if you've proven yourself great, that will not leave you.
Right.
Now, are you in the like height of the zeitgeist? Certainly not.
Right.
But you have an asset that you will never shake. Unless you really fucking embarrass yourself in like 7 series in a row. They'll be like, maybe she wasn't that good
terrible.
in that. Yeah, I need to rewatch that. I've thought that about some directors' movies. Like, there's just 3 in a row that are terrible, and I think, should I rewatch that first movie I fell in love with? It like, has it always been Smoke and Mirrors?
Wrong?
Yeah, so you won't check that, but yeah, that's a terrifying moment, right?
Yeah.
Is this not a terrifying moment?
It's humbling and odd. I'm trying to keep it from being terrifying, and I don't feel like I can remember as in my 20s like being released from hold for a commercial and like laying down on the ground in my apartment and being like, I will never work again. I'm never gonna work again.
Yeah.
But I will say that there was a moment during Fargo, probably during all of the hoopla after the show came out, where I realized that I was never going to have to update my LinkedIn resume and go back and get a day job ever again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was like, even if I was in an accident and couldn't walk, I could write. Like someone will give me a job as a writer. Like I know this town, I know these people now, like I'm part of this community. And I never am going to have to go back to working in IT. Right. Ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I find very comforting. You know?
Yeah, but for me, like I've had many different lulls and then many different like upswings and all these things, and I definitely feel like I'm much better at navigating it now at 43 because there's been at least like 15 years of proof that I somehow continue to make a living doing this. But it took a long. I bet even at like 11 years, I was like, well. Fuck, it was a great ride, and how long did you think it was going to last?
Yeah.
And it's already a miracle you had that ride. So it's certainly, and obviously we all know actors that seem to have disappeared. I don't think all of them by choice.
Yeah.
So it's a very fear-laden occupation.
It is.
And you kind of need a defense against it, right? Like you need...
I think that you do.
Have one?
You know, I was actually thinking about this this morning because I was like... You know, anytime you go to like a Hollywood party or whatever, the question
make you feel terrible.
The question is always like, "What are you working on now?"
Yeah,
which is such a dreaded question. I think. And I was thinking about it, and you know, the advice that I always gave to people who asked me after Fargo, and like I went back to my college and spoke and answered questions and things. The thing that I always said to younger people when they said, "How did you?" Like, why? How did you stick with this through all those years? Like, how did you stick with this long enough for this, like, luck to even befall you?
Yeah.
And I always said it's really important that you let your involvement with your art form evolve and that you say, you know what, if this is not good for my heart, I'm going to write for a while. And if that's not good for me, I'm going to go teach kids for, like, whatever. Yeah. You need to do, you need to be involved in whatever way is going to make you feel good.
Yeah,
you know?
I think just being productive, whether it's doing the thing that you ultimately want to do or not. Productivity then leads to self-esteem, which then leads to you going into a room not fucking desperate that if you don't get this audition, you're never going to feed yourself again, right?
And I think generating your own material is really important.
Yeah.
And I am now at a point where I need to follow my own advice and make a change so that I am, like you said, like you got to tend your own garden, I think, and I'm kind of fostering my own creative self.
And what is Tim, your lover of how many years now? 5 years?
5, yeah.
And what does he do?
He works in IT.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
Do you feel bad now about just saying disparaging things about IT?
No, because we worked together.
Okay.
You worked in IT.
We worked, that's how we met. We worked at an IT firm.
Are you guys
together.
both incredibly literate with computers? Could you?
No, I mean, he's incredibly literate with computers. I mean, he's really good at all those things. But I I learned how to I translated for our clients basically is what I did. I spoke human to the clients. And they spoke computers to each other.
And he has found employment in LA. Did he want to move to LA?
He he was up for moving to LA. He's like super supportive of wherever, like whatever needs to happen for my career. He's very on board with.
That's nice.
Yeah, like he's never like dug his heels in and been like, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh to shoot that. Like he's like, whatever you need to do, we'll do.
Oh, and did you have a moment when you were winning the Critics' Choice Award where you're like, I'm in love with Tim, but maybe I could date Brad Pitt now? Did your ego do that at all?
Critics' Choice Awards? I don't think it did. I was aware that was a thing, that like if people got famous that they ditched their part. Like I knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like aware that was a mindset that could happen. But
and do you feel like you prepped yourself for that?
I think I did. And from the beginning I was so thankful excuse me, to have Tim, because he's not in the business, that like on this crazy ride of Fargo, there was another person who I could be like, can you fucking believe this?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there was no competition, like professional competition between us, because he's not even in the business. And I've never, as a professional actor, dated another professional actor, and I'm sure that obviously, like you and your wife cheer on each other's successes, and you're not right. You're not just like jealous of.
Oh, I hate her guts. I mean, she represents every product in America.
But I mean,
but I can tell you. So I was with a girl for 9 years, Bree, before I met Kristen, and one of the huge issues I had when we broke up was, oh my God, I'm gonna meet someone else, but that someone else doesn't know the Dax from the one-bedroom apartment for 10 years, and for whatever reason, that felt very important to me that the person I was sharing my life with knew what the ride was, and could remind me of that. And, like that was very, very important to me. And I always kind of equated it to one of my favorite movies is Eternal Sunshine. Have you ever seen that movie, The Spotless Mind?
Yeah.
And the way they fall in love, like they're broke. They're dead fucking broke, and they make snow angels, and they roll around. There's all this stuff I just loved. And I thought, oh, man, that's real, and I'm not going to have that now. I had all these, I just thought, oh, that's authentic, and now I'm not going to have that. But I will say the upside I found with being married to Kristen is what I do is not that fucking cool. It's not that important. I could never get a big head about it because she'd go, yeah, no shit, I do the same fucking thing. Yeah, I got to wake up at 5 too. Yes, you got to go do this interview. Whatever. That has become very healthy to me because I do think wrongly when I was with Bree, I would sometimes be like, well, you don't really understand what's going on. Like, I got to go do, I'm going to do 100 interviews at this junket in 24 hours, and I'm not going to be, like, I had, I did think, it was easy for me to think no one understood what I was going through. So I think there's pros and cons of both sides.
Yeah.
Right?
I can definitely see that. I think it's
so if Matt Damon does want to leave his wife for you, I'm just saying that too will be something special.
I have a lot to consider.
Don't steal Matt Damon from me.
I want to see
How dare you?
I want to see a cat fight on this couch.
Oh, poor Monica.
Okay, so you were in a show called. So after all that you just said it, you did Krampus, and you were in New Zealand.
We were in New Zealand.
I shot a movie there. Did you love it?
Yeah.
Another good drinking town.
Wellington?
Yes.
Yeah.
I one time watched a guy, I was on the balcony of the apartment I rented, and I was just like watching the street circus at like 1 a.m. And I saw a guy walking down the street with the actual tray from McDonald's, and it just had so much food on it. And then he started throwing up, and then he dumped his whole tray of McDonald's in the process of throwing up. And then he was like gathering up all this food, but of course some of it had landed in his throw up. And then just watching this guy wrestle this tray and all these entrees and throwing up at the same time. I mean, if I had filmed it, it would have been one of the greatest viral videos of all time. But so after Krampus, you do Downward Dog. Yeah. And I saw you on Kimmel, and you were talking about the fact that you and the dog, your co-star, went to a White Sox game.
Yeah.
And then in the Kimmel interview, you said you were doing press with the dog.
Yeah.
Walk me through that experience. Because when I heard that story, all I could think about is one time while promoting Without a Paddle, we had to do a red carpet in like the middle of the country, and there was a fucking guy in a bear outfit because there was a bear in the movie. And I remember saying, I'll do anything, just please keep that bear away from me. I don't want to be in any interviews with a guy in a bear suit.
Yeah. No, I did almost all my press I did with Ned.
Ned.
Well, Martin is his character's name. Ned is the dog's name.
Right.
He didn't come with me for the late shows that I did. But all the daytime stuff, he was there.
He was
and
with
even my
you.
radio interviews, he was like off to the side yawning at me, like
Okay.
because they wanted. I mean, he's adorable,
Sure.
and so anytime that there's going to be pictures or that there's a camera, they were like, we need the dog to be there, and I didn't mind because I love
didn't
this
mind.
dog. I didn't mind. No.
Okay.
I will say that
Are they like asking the? I just in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
I can see so many ways this goes south. Like you're doing a Philadelphia morning show,
Mm-hmm.
and the reporter now starts asking the dog questions to be funny,
Uh-huh.
and then now you're kind of in the position that you have to answer for Ned. Did that ever happen?
I think the big concern was because I don't know if you know anything about Downward Dog, but in the show he talks
Right.
to camera, not to me. He's not a talking dog in reality. He just is a talking dog within the world of your television set. And so that was a real concern of mine going into press, is that I was like, I don't want to have to answer questions as if this is not Martin. This is Ned.
Right. This is the actor.
This is the actor Ned.
Yes.
He's not a talking dog.
Correct.
Do you know, like, that was
Yes.
a really important distinction
Yes,
for me,
that
which
you wanted
sounds
to make
crazy,
going
but I
in,
was like,
yeah.
I don't want to do that kind of
You
press.
guys
I don't want to
aren't in
do
character.
that kitschy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly they wanted to.
There was some of it. My publicist would like say ahead of time, like, nah. And then
Yeah.
sometimes they would say, what do you think that Ned would say if he were,
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, which
Right.
I always kind of tried to like shirk off. But
You have such a good attitude about this. I feel like if they sent me on the road with a dog, my co-star, I just feel like this would be very hard for me. I really applaud how.
Did you have to like pick up the dog? Like you had to take care of.
Was
the
he
dog?
living in your hotel room when you
no,
guys were?
his trainer.
You're
his
like
trainer was
walking
there
Ned
too.
and feeding him. Okay.
His trainer was there too, and so his trainer would take him as soon as we were off camera and like
hit him and stuff.
just discipline him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to smile, Sing out,
What
Louise.
the fuck, Ned?
Yeah.
She just acted circles around you out there. Jesus.
But yeah, I was in charge of, bringing him in and getting him up on the couch or whatever. But we'd worked together for so long at that point in time. That he was comfortable with
and
me.
did this happen to you? Because I was on a show for years with kids, and I was often in scenes with kids, and it got a lot. It was a lot easier for everybody if I kind of stepped in to direct the kids, because the director, at least for half the episodes, would be a visiting director
Right.
who wasn't our normal director. So he had no rapport with these kids. He didn't really know how to speak their specific,
Yeah.
what they needed to hear.
Yeah.
So then, it was just a big shortcut for us
Yeah.
if we all kind of directed the kids within the scene. So did you find that you start like repositioning Ned and helping Ned through just to save time?
If on
you become
his-
the animal wrangler,
on
I
these
would
interviews, to some degree, yes, because
Yeah.
the wrangler, she would be too far away to come in and do things.
Oh, good. It
And
was
so,
a she.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a picture of a guy in a jean jacket
Oh
in
no!
my head.
All of Ned's trainers were she's actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. He preferred women.
He preferred women.
Yeah.
But no, and I would have treats with me, so I could get him to do what I needed him to do if he wasn't doing it on his own. So that's true. That is a sad part, is that there were always treats stuffed into my
Yeah, to me that
My designer dresses.
yeah, that
there were
tells me
always
that
treats.
you were his animal wrangler. Like if you have treats in your pocket, that's
I
a
have
pretty
treats in my pockets.
like
of my
in
tuxedo
court. You're
coat.
like, no, I wasn't his animal wrangler, and then I pull out could you
I'm like,
explain
wait a
Exhibit A,
second.
doggy treats we found in
Yes, I
your
was.
yeah, but you didn't mind.
I didn't mind, and I actually think and when in shooting it, because he had a trainer that was with him all the time, that was like, that's who he was up with up until the moment that we were rolling, and that's who he went to as soon as we were done rolling. I think it's easier than with kids. I've worked with kids sometimes, and I feel that it falls on me even when I don't even know these kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, who's in charge of we should have a kid wrangler. Like, I don't know who's in charge of this kid. Is it me?
Yeah, and I think you
know?
have to remind yourself pretty often when you're working with kids, like, I have to just keep reminding myself, like, hey, these are real kids. Like these aren't just other actors that are here. This is a real kid's real childhood, which happens to be at your job, or me at their job, however you want to see it. And you have some responsibility to like give these kids a good childhood because this is their fucking childhood. And that some people were good at that and some people were not good at that. And it could be exhausting and it could be rewarding. Like my son on Parenthood, Jabbar, who was played by Tyree. I love this kid. Like I watched him grow up. It was so fun. I didn't have kids yet and it was great. But, some people they don't want kids.
Yeah.
Do you want kids?
I don't know.
Okay.
We
have a couple here.
I would have always said, if you want them, I always would have said yes until the last year or so. I've been like, do I want kids? Just more than anything else, I think I'm kind of questioning that sort of natural assumption of like, you go to college, of course you get married, of course you know what I mean? And my boyfriend and I are not married, and we're not in a big hurry to get married. And I'm also like, I always was like, well, I'm not in a hurry to have kids, and now I'm kind of like, do I even want to have kids? I think because I have friends now who are choosing to not have children. More and more friends who are choosing to not have children, and so I'm kind of like, oh, that's right. It's not a default.
That's
like
an
you
option.
can have that option.
Yes. Well, increasingly, I think too. That's the movement, right?
Yeah.
With younger generations, they're not as inclined. I'm a big pusher of kids on people. In fact, I've had to apologize to friends of mine who have then wrote articles about stop asking me when I'm having kids. Because for me, I had a friend explain it best. My friend Pete said they solve all your existential crises. Like you have them, and all of a sudden, your priority becomes crystal clear. Like I got to keep this human being alive, and then so all my other issues that I wrestle with or obsess about, they just get kind of right sized.
Yeah, I get it.
But they're a lot of work too.
They're a lot of work.
They impact your lifestyle for sure.
Well, and our world is like screwy right now.
It's not, though. This is the thing. Let's argue right now. I want to argue about this. I think there's a common consensus that we live in a bad time.
Yeah.
And that's just not true by any indicator. If you look at famine, if you look at child mortality rates, if you look at just any indicator we would measure a good world by, it has gotten incrementally better and better and better and better. Like, we have terrible race problems right now, but we don't have the 50s race problems. I'm reading a book right now about the post-Civil War Reconstruction. We don't have those problems.
Yeah.
They're not killing black folks that are trying to go vote.
Right.
I do think it's important for us to recognize we don't have outbreaks of measles that decimate 10% of the population. Like, we live in a great time. Far less people are starving around the world. And I'd argue it's a little arrogant of us to think that we're just in the world. Like we think, oh, this country's so fucking divided. We've never been this divided. Well, we went to war with each other. So we've been a lot more divided than
my
this.
My mother said the same thing. After the election, I was telling my parents, I said, I can't imagine. I said, it seems bonkers to choose to get pregnant right now. It seems insane. I truly was like.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Because for a while after Trump was elected, I spent some time being like, at least if the world literally ends, it's just Tim and I. We don't have kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because there was a little while where I was like, we might honestly blow ourselves up.
Well, sure. North Korea could nuke us.
Yeah.
But can I tell you something? I would be so fucking delighted that I had this experience when we all get incinerated. Like, I would be so grateful. That wouldn't really be a downside of getting nuked. It'd be one of the upsides for me. Is that
For you, though.
For me.
But she's saying for the kids.
No, for the kids too. Like Lincoln and Delta. We've had a party now for 5 years.
Yeah.
I spent 2 hours yesterday kicking a ball around the driveway with her. That if they incinerate us tomorrow, like, this was a victory.
Yeah. But my mother said the same thing. She was like, there have been lots of really bad times, and people had kids during World War II. They had kids, like that. They had kids without indoor plumbing or heat. You keep doing stuff, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like it's a bad idea because the world might end to have children. I felt that way for a little while, but I don't feel that way anymore.
Also, I just want to point out the amount of attention and brain power we give those things, the outside world, the current government, North Korea, right? That's not in their world. So they don't know who they know who the president is, but they don't understand the implications of that. They don't know what's happening with North Korea. It's actually a little bit inspiring to go like, oh, I'm giving this a lot of brain power. And if I focus on right now, where am I at? Where are my feet at? What am I doing?
Yeah.
But when I start thinking about, what's going to happen if we get in a tariff war with China and we can't afford it, sure, then it's kind of insurmountable. But if I just focus on this moment, everything's fine.
I think it depends, though, because you do have a great life, but depending on the current government, it can affect kids' lives day to day. Funding for certain programs, healthcare, all these things. People do
if they're kicking your parents out of this country right now, that's
exactly.
a big deal.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that for those people that's not a big issue. But I will say, when I was dead fucking broke living in Santa Monica in a one-bedroom apartment, I also had a great fucking life. I had a lot of friends and I found joy and I exercised. And these indicators that have now made my life on the surface great aren't really the things that made my life great. The last question I want to ask you that I ask a lot of people is, do you have a little list in your head that you have figured out gives you self-esteem? Is there things that you do that result in you feeling generally level and good and optimistic? And when you feel bad, you go, I haven't been taking walks. I should maybe take a walk. Or I haven't been eating well. Or I haven't.
I do. I have a list. When I first was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, which was years ago, my therapist and I made a list, which I keep a copy in my office and I keep a copy in my wallet, actually, that help me, if I ever really am spinning out, that help me remember like the things that
Is it like a gratitude list?
No, it's like take a walk, write it down, call a friend, take a deep breath, and then the other one is sort of this mindfulness exercise that she taught me that sort of helps you get out of your head and sort of slow down your brain a little bit.
Yeah. Do you smoke pot?
No.
You don't? That's not good for you.
I don't love it. No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't love it either.
I've not had an experience that I really enjoy.
But I do find some people with
pot.
anxiety or depression, they do smoke pot, and for some people that's
and
effective.
it helps.
And
Yeah,
some,
well, I'm on antidepressants,
Right.
so the depression is definitely under control, and I don't really worry about that. And my anxiety tends to be situational, like I have to get on a plane, you know what I mean, and then I can take a
Xanax or
exactly,
something.
and be okay.
Those are nice, right?
Yeah,
I really wish I could take those.
those are good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. My wife too is medicated, and it's I had, of course, I think like a lot of people, I had an opinion of it, and then I lived with someone with it, and I have a much different opinion of it today, which is so often the case. I think.
And me too. It was a big decision for me to. It was when I started therapy. That was a big step, and then I was in therapy for a long time before I said I think we need to look into.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Medication. I've been on antidepressants for 6 years, maybe.
6 years. So,
yeah.
And I think that's a really relevant thing to consider within your story, which is a lot of people I know have fears of going on that medication because they think it's going to somehow mute the qualities in them that have made them either successful or whatever. And you had your most success post medication, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it did not take away your fire or your...
No, I don't. Yeah, I know that that's a thing, and that's a concern of people, that it's going to like dull you down. I don't know, unless you have some pretty serious, unless you're like manic, which is obviously a real concern. But if we're talking about antidepressants, and I think if your depressants are dulling you that much, you probably need to talk to your doctor and adjust your shit.
Has it fucked up your memory though?
I don't think so.
You can't remember.
I don't remember. I don't remember. All the things that have like, I'm like, do I not sleep as well now than I used to? Is it because of my antidepressants?
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, it's also just like I've gotten older. So there are these things that I don't know if it's because of my medication or because it's just who I am now.
Yeah, that's why us humans are the worst study subjects, because there's so many elements that affect.
We change and it's annoying.
It's like your diet and your sleep and your daily activities, and it's all. Well, I appreciate your honesty, because I think it's really empowering when people who other people look up to are honest about the things they struggle with. And I think I've always been so proud of Kristen when she's been really honest and open about having depression.
I think it's important, and I can remember hearing Kristen speak about it and that affecting me.
That's really
because
lovely.
even after I started taking it, I was like, this is, again, and I think part of it goes back to growing up with these Christian Science bases to in my household, is that it was hard for me to say, I'm going to take something and put it in my body. I'm going to put a chemical in my body every single day.
Yes.
That's going to change my brain chemistry. That was really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But
you know what's even harder is thinking your way into better brain chemistry.
Yeah. There are certainly ways to, assist if you're struggling with these things. If you get to the point where you're like, I always say, like, there's pain, and then there's like suffering, and like everybody has pain sometimes. We have painful things, but if you're suffering and you can't get out, you don't need to suffer.
Well, also, in my own experience, I have arthritis, and I've had all these different medications for this psoriatic arthritis. One of them was I won't out them for what it was, but it came with this bundle of information that I of course did not read. I just started taking this medication. Couple weeks had gone by, and I'm watching my daughters play, and it's occurring to me, I'm not getting any joy out of this, and this is like the greatest source of joy in my life. And I now realize in that moment, oh my God, I've not had any joy for weeks. I can't enjoy anything that I like. And then by luck, I like, my sister's like, do you want me to throw away that fucking booklet that came with your medication? And I just glanced through it, and the number one side effect was depression. And I've had terrible addiction. I've had a lot of different things, but I'd never had what is clinically depression until that moment. And I realized, holy fuck, if you can't enjoy your wedding, the birth of your child, watching your children play, these things, a promotion, that's not fair. That's not right.
No,
and that's you need assistance.
You do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see it while you're in it. But I think it is helpful to hear people speak about being on the other side of it. Because when you're in it, you're like, no, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just what I'm supposed to feel like, or
there's self-loathing, right? Like, I'm not doing enough. I should be doing this.
I should be running 2 miles a day, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, just go get some drugs. Like, I was in talk therapy for a long time. I'm still in therapy. I talk to my therapist every single week. I'm not just like, throw drugs at the problem. But I think
would you consider taking me on as a therapist?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great.
Are we going to record every session? But yeah, I think it works for some people. And I think the key to having it work for you is, you need to be able to be self-aware enough to be like, wait a second, why am I not enjoying watching my kids play?
Yeah.
That's important to be able to, because it is also really hard to like notice when you need to shift your medicine and when.
Yeah. And as triggering as it is and as hard, you also have to empower your partner. You need to probably talk about language. Like, there will be times where I'm like, I think there's something going on, like maybe medication. I don't know if she skipped, and it's very hard for me to bring up, but we have navigated how I can, because I'm an observer in your life, and I can see things seem to be down or up or whatever. And I think it's important to have the person in your life empowered to point that out to you, where it doesn't make you defensive.
Doesn't make you, I don't know how to, I truly don't know how to not get defensive.
It's hard, right?
When Tim's like, I think you're spinning out right now. But it helps me to feel seen in that moment. Yeah. And it also helps me that he's not like,
you're a crazy
take your shit
asshole.
elsewhere and calm down. That he's just like, I'll sit with you in this moment.
Yeah.
But you are spiraling. Like, for example, we recently had an experience where I couldn't sleep. We were in Atlanta. I was shooting, so we were like living in a hotel room together. There was nowhere to go but this hotel room.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep one night because I don't always sleep well. And Tim was sleeping soundly next to me, and I was so furious that he was sleeping. Like, that's what made me so angry, was that he was sleeping, and I was so furious that I think he woke up to like go to the bathroom or something. And when he got back in bed, I told him, I was like, I'm so angry at you. And he was just like, all right, well, let's ride this out. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? But I do. I think I need to like talk it out, and then and like it helps to have someone be like, I understand what you're saying, and I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Right.
Let's try to go to sleep now. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You should try to sleep now.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
And again, you're so crazy talented, and you will end up in doing something very shortly that you love again, and I'll be excited to watch it.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right. And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Don't take me in with the ZipRecruiter song.
Oh, okay. I wonder if I can make it with that same tune because it's stuck in my head. Fact check, check them facts.
There you go.
Fact checking, fact checking. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Welcome to this episode of Fact Check by Monica Padman.
That's me.
Monica Padman.
That's not me.
That's kind of you. Once again, where are we? Oh, so in the interim, since we did the intro and now we're doing the fact check, hit him with the bad
We've
news.
been fact checked.
Robin,
Yeah.
a.k.a. Rob.
AKA a Wobby Wob.
Wobby Wob, yeah. My kids
has
are now
told
calling
us-
him Wobby Wob.
He's told us that the record for treading water is a mere 85 hours.
85 hours, which I find so hard to believe because the person would have to sleep in that period.
No, they probably first won the record for not sleeping. Okay, then they've just moved it to the
okay.
water.
All the things they can do. I say this sincerely. I could not stay in a bed on my back for 85 hours.
Me
It
either.
It hurt too much.
Yeah.
After like 10 hours, I'm in pain.
Well, we just don't have the disposition.
We don't have it in us.
Do you want to tell people the ethnicity of this person?
I'd love to, and I only
Go
feel
ahead.
like I'm allowed to because you're sitting next
Yeah,
to me.
you're
But
allowed
yes,
to.
it was an Indian gentleman from
Yeah.
the subcontinent. Mm-hmm. So impressive.
I was
all the more reason
proud.
I want my 23andMe results to show a little subcontinent.
I know.
I feel like I want
Me too.
a little bit of that secret sauce in my recipe.
Okay, should we start our facts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I'm not ready to.
all right.
I want to send a brief little love letter to Austin. For anyone who's not visited Austin, we came down a few days early for our live event. It is heaven on earth.
It's really special. I've never been here before.
Oh my God, I also want to give a shout out to my top dog, Houston Street, who came through in a major pinch and lent us his pontoon boat
And
while we were
we
here.
have been enjoying the heck out of that boat.
We've been pontooning the shit out of Lake Austin, and it's been spectacular. Anyways, that's just to say that if you're ever thinking about getting out onto a lake, traveling, the food off the charts. We've eaten so much barbecue. We just love it. And we're not even sponsored by Austin or anything yet. Okay, let's get into the facts.
Okay, so this is a double
A twofer.
episode. So the first is Colin.
Okay.
Good old Colin Hanks.
CH.
This is surprisingly a fact light episode.
Oh, okay.
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 Well, first I just wanted to.
Well, luckily we gave a real-time account of our trip to Austin in the beginning, so we've eaten up a lot of time.
Luckily.
Yeah. We did want to do this on the pontoon boat, but we couldn't. There's no power outlet, and I didn't bring a generator. We thought it'd be really cool to do one at sea, a fact check at
I
sea.
know.
Maybe
I wish we could figure that out.
you on the port side, me on the starboard
Oh,
side,
goodness.
Robin in the stern.
Dax loves saying port side and
Maritime talk, I love on the pontoon. Throw the lines in and out. I did dock
you're
it
gonna
like
start just putting you're just gonna start saying nonsense and I wouldn't even know. That's the problem.
How would you know? Yeah.
I'm not into sea.
Do you know maritime law does stipulate that if you were to get crazy, I could kill you at sea legally?
No.
Yes, the captain of the
Pirate
boat.
law?
No, maritime law. If a crew member goes berserk and the captain ascertains that they're a threat to other members of the crew, they have a gun and they can kill the person.
I don't approve.
You don't have to or not. It is maritime law. And I just want you to know to be on your best behavior when we're out on the pontoon boat because it's well within my rights when on the high seas
No.
to end you. If I think you're a threat to other members.
How do you get to decide that? You're a threat.
What I wouldn't be the captain without having a great radar for people that are threat to others.
I didn't know about this and I do not like it.
You're not going to be
It's
on
not
the boat
a democracy on the sea.
Oh, it's absolutely not a democracy out at sea. It is
I like democracies.
you can't have them at sea. That's
Why?
called a mutiny.
it's
Listen,
not.
it's like a director on a film. It's gotta be a dictatorship for it to work.
No.
You can't have people questioning whether or not to put out the jib or the mainsail. They just got to put that
Well, you
fucking
can't
mainsail
have people
up.
deciding who should die.
Well, again, only when they pose a realistic threat. I don't think it's beyond the shadow of a doubt. I think the burden of proof is much lower at the high on the high
To
seas.
each person, that can mean something very different.
All I'm
Real
saying
threat.
to you is mind your P's and Q's while I'm at the helm.
I'm gonna have Charlie drive the boat from now on. I feel safer in
You
his
do?
in his
I think
brain.
he's way more of a loose cannon than me.
He's not gonna kill me.
He'd be blasting people left and right. He's
But
more of a
not
paranoid.
me.
Maybe not you, but
I think you're more likely to kill me than he
no.
is. I do.
I'd have to. How would I find a new Monica Patman?
ZipRecruiter, I guess.
ZipRecruiter.
Okay. Well, I guess.
I got you all in a tizzy about
Yeah,
getting murdered
and I
on
was
the high
about to
seas.
give you some compliments, and now I don't want
Oh
to.
no! No, please do.
I will.
Okay.
I thought it was really impressive how you handled hearing that Colin was offered your role.
Oh, yeah, that didn't bother me.
Didn't bother you at all. And I
No.
got nervous when I could tell.
Where it was heading?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought you did a nice job, and I was proud of you for not caring about that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, so we just had this conversation a couple days ago here in Austin, Texas, on our balcony. But it was also in our episode about kids going to school early.
Oh, the nuclear, the
Then you
arms
call it
race.
the nuclear arms race,
The age arms race.
the age arms race. And I just think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, and it was really detailed in Outliers.
Malcolm Gladwell's book, yes, Outliers.
And he goes through, did I already say this in the body of the interview? That a significant majority of the NHL players have birthdays in either January, February, March because they become the oldest in the little tiny little
Strongest.
league farm leagues, and then they get selected to move up.
Yep.
And so it's a huge advantage to be older.
Changes the course of their whole life.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
also SAT scores are reflected.
Yeah.
And so on. And so people have started making their kids start later,
They hold
older.
them. Yeah.
But it's all comparative.
Exactly.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Exactly. So if everyone starts at age 6, then no one is having the advantage.
Right, and it could be seen as like an intrinsic value, but it's not. It's only comparative. So
Yeah.
if you hold your kid to 6, the SAT scores aren't going to go up. If other people are holding them to 7, then of course the 7-year-olds, they're going to take their SATs at 24
I
years old. They're
know.
going to have an advantage. So it's always comparatively the older kids are going to.
Which is why I think
Do
it should
better.
everyone should just be going at age 5.
2. Okay,
Everyone
5.
should just go at birth. As soon as you get,
Drop it, go straight from the hospital to your local
Born.
kindergarten.
yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
it is kind of silly.
Yeah, because you can just keep pushing and pushing. And I went to kindergarten at age 4, and I'm doing just fine.
Right, you went to college and had good SAT scores.
Yeah.
I think. I'm assuming so. Fair? Good.
Good.
Good. Great.
Yeah. Not fantastic.
Not like
what do you think
tell
they are?
people at a dinner party.
What do you think it
I
is?
can't even remember. What's the best?
Well, back
1800
then,
or something?
1600 was the best. Now it's
800
all
and
changed.
800. I would guess, if I'm going to guess, you got a 1250.
Got 1300.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. That's great.
And mine were 650, 650.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dead even.
Yeah.
I feel like that's rare, that most people
think
would
it's rare.
be stronger in either.
Yeah.
'Cause it's writing and reading comprehension and then math and science skills, kind of. Those are the division.
Math and reading and stuff. Now there's an essay portion, and I'm sad that I didn't get to
Me
do that.
too. That could have really bumped up my shit.
Though then a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my brother was studying for the SAT or taking practice tests or whatever.
Sure. PSATs.
He had a book, and I was home for Christmas, and I took it again.
Oh, you did?
Yes. And I scored much higher.
Oh, you did?
Yes, and I was very surprised.
Yeah, because you're much dustier on all that math and stuff.
Exactly.
But so it's just anxiety that
I
probably
think
brought.
so. It was
Yeah.
interesting.
We took in Michigan. Most of the Michigan schools preferred an ACT. Did you guys have those?
We had those,
And that's out
but
of
they were
36, I think.
much more rare.
Yeah, that was like what most people took.
Really?
Yeah, if they went in state.
That was, I think, science. That had science, right?
I think it has it all. I think it's just like the SAT. but it's
SAT
different.
only has math and verbal. That's it. And now essay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, then I don't know. But I do know, I think it's out of 36.
Do you remember what you got? Did you take it?
I want to say I did good on that one, like maybe 31 or something, and then terrible on the SAT. The writing. As soon as I got in
Reading.
a timed scenario, like had I
Yeah.
gone through, I had left the learning disabled program by the time I was in high school, but I still did definitely require more time for any of the reading comprehension stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think I probably panicked.
Yeah. It's a panicky.
Also, I wasn't going to go to college, so I didn't really give a fuck. I was.
You
gonna
shouldn't have
be-
even taken it.
I shouldn't have. It was just scheduled, and I did it
Yeah.
to make my mom happy, and I didn't really care. So I wanted to live in my car,
Yeah.
like Jack Kerouac. And I did for a bit.
And you
then
did
I
it.
Didn't want to be him anymore after 6 months.
Changed
in
your
the car.
mind.
Yeah.
Were you in the car for 85 hours?
Oh, at least. Well, I could
So-
drive a car for 85 hours.
See, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you should set a record. No, I don't want you to.
I could.
I know, but I don't
But
want.
the
I shouldn't
problem
have
is if
planned
someone
it.
would break it by doping, which again, I would be pro-doping, but I'm sober. But someone would just do
Yeah.
meth and drive for like a week straight and then crash into a brick wall.
Well, you have to stay alive. That's part of it.
Yeah, I think it still could be done on meth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
That's why they have those strict laws for truck drivers. Truck drivers can only drive for 12 hours a day unless they're a team. Oh, no, it might even be 10 hours a day. They can drive for 10 hours a day solo, or if they're a team, they can go nonstop. They can go 24 hours a day, but they have to be swapping out sleeping.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Turns out there's like almost no facts in this.
Okay, cool.
The only fact is, well, I wanted to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Well, the only fact, the real fact, is Jason Ritter's grandpa's name is Tex Ritter, but you couldn't remember. But I think you actually even did say it.
I feel like I did say Tex.
But you were like, or whatever his name is.
They really threw it away.
So yeah, but it is Tex Ritter,
And he is in the Country and Western Music Hall of Fame.
I believe. Yeah. And also silver spoons. You talk about silver spoons. Did we already talk about on here silver spoons?
I think it was on the, what do you call it, fact check? What's his butt?
Tex Ritter.
No. It was on the Joel McHale fact check.
Oh, silver spoons was on Joel McHale
Yeah.
fact check. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then if you want to know about this really funny story about silver spoons,
Just go back.
Just go to that Joel McHale fact check. Okay, so Silver Spoons is a TV show about basically like a Fresh Prince type show about a rich family.
The Caucasoid version,
Yeah. And
starring Ricky Schroeder.
and I had never seen it, but I was poking around in some old memory boxes of Dax, and there was an essay, maybe 5th grade
Yeah, that seems right.
essay, very well written, about silver spoons. Is it spoons plural?
Yeah, silver spoons.
Silver spoons.
Fuck, that might be a Michigan thing. You know, we had an S to everything. Fords, Kmart's,
Streets.
Walmart's.
And it was the cutest little essay. It was so heartfelt. You had so many feelings about silver spoons.
I really loved the show.
Yeah, you
Because
wanted,
I wanted to be rich.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I was I also had like, and this is the thing I think about this regularly now that I have kids, is kids just tell you what they want. They know what to parrot. Like, you're not getting anything honest out of a kid. They know exactly what an adult wants to hear. Mm-hmm. So there was a portion of that essay where I was really trying to like drive home this point that it was great family values. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh my
like
god.
and what quality programming it was for a family.
Yes,
and the
that was
values. But I didn't give a fuck about those values. They dined and dashed in an episode, and I loved that.
I think you referenced it maybe in your essay.
That one really sticks out.
That was your favorite episode.
But I didn't give a fuck
But it
about
taught
the
you
moral
about
lessons.
I think, but you said that
But
it
I
taught you
did.
about morals.
And just and then our friend Erica, who's with us in Austin, she was talking about being in a pageant
yeah, she
last night in town. She was 7, and she in real life she cheated at all the games she played. But then when she was in this pageant and she talked about the value of playing games with your family,
yeah.
she was talking about how honest. It was just a lie. Like she
Yeah.
was a cheat. And then yet all the people in the audience of the pageant were like, oh, what a good sportsman she is.
Don't you think adults do this too?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone
in
does
general, I think that's why we have this podcast is in general, everyone's just trying to say what we think everyone wants to hear. And it's just
exactly.
utter crap.
Yep.
I poop naked in a squatting position on the
Yeah.
toilet and have ticks. And that's
Yeah.
not what you say in a pageant.
Still?
What if I had been in a pageant at 8 and they were like, what's your favorite hobby? I was like, getting bare naked, squatting on the toilet, touching the toilet paper on the outside wall twice.
Covering it in poo-poo.
And then freaking out when I hear Van Halen's Jump one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't win the pageant.
We should start a pageant about true, real
The
life,
honesty pageant.
gritty,
Yeah,
life.
and you're encouraged not to do hair and makeup. Come looking
can't.
dirty. Yeah, stinky.
Yeah, you got to stink.
Yeah, we smell you, and then you can join the
The
pageant.
stinkier, the better. Anyway, one more thing. So he talked about when his mom was sick. His mom was sick when he was doing Orange County.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that made me think that I have this really real fear about that with success.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have this idea that if you achieve some sort of massive success, like the world balances you out with something kind of bad. And I get really
Are
nervous
you
about
suggesting I killed my father? Is that what you're saying?
that. Well, I didn't want to say it like that, but it is an example
He
in my head.
didn't have cancer before I made Hit and Run.
It is an example that sometimes I think about.
Oh, you do?
I think about a lot of examples, though.
I think that's horseshit. I think
I
you might as
hope
well
it
believe
is.
in a guy with a beard sitting on a cloud up there. Then
Santa?
This is in keeping. Santa? So are there any facts in Allison's? I just got curious. I wasn't like trying to rush you along. I just all of a sudden was like, wait, when you said that was all the facts, was that just for Colin or
That was
also
just for
Alan?
Colin. There are a couple in Allison's. We can
Okay.
move on.
No. I just all of a sudden I got really curious.
Well,
Almost excited.
We should move on.
Okay.
So, moving on to Allison Tolman.
AT.
Oh, you talked about elephants and their trunks because you said your dad believed. Speaking of your dad, good transition. Your dad believed that if the trunk was up, it's good luck.
Yes.
Elephants are good luck in Indian culture.
Oh, sure. What's the one with many trunks that everyone likes?
Oh, I think Ganesh. An elephant is associated with Buddha and the Indian deity Ganesh and can be used to symbolize power, wisdom, strength, protection of the home, fertility, and general good luck. But in Indian cultures, from what I believe, because I have a couple Indian wooden statues from my grandparents.
Your hot ass grandma.
Yeah, exactly. They have a lot of Indian
OG original grandma.
elephant stuff. And none of them have their trunks up. So I was, because Carly, your sister, had once told me that too. She obviously got it from your father as well.
Yeah.
And I was confused because I had never heard that or seen that on any of my good luck statues.
Right.
But it says that Feng Shui practitioners
Okay.
believe that elephants should have their trunks facing upwards to represent prosperity, good luck, and success. So I guess it's
my
just
dad
different.
was very feng shui.
Yeah, he loved feng shui. Remember?
Remember? You don't remember your dad loved feng shui? I will say though about my father, for a for a straight white male who fought at Costco every couple weeks, he had incredible style. He was like a really
Yeah.
great home decorator.
I think your sister has told me about that too.
Yeah, and he had good style, fashion.
He had a good eye.
He really did a good aesthetic.
We could have gone shopping together and had fun.
By the way, his favorite thing to do was to take like my sister shopping, even though my sister isn't my dad's child.
Yeah.
He loved it. He loved shopping.
Shopping
I
is
can't
fun.
stand it. He would go to a clothing store and just like run everything between his fingers and poke at everything hanging. And I would be so exhausted. I'd start laying on the floor under the clothes and stuff.
Do you think my dad is your dad and your dad is my dad?
Absolutely.
That might be
Yeah,
true.
because I had a 2.5 hour chat with Ashok last week.
Yeah.
Because he was visiting.
Yep.
And I don't know why I had this fear that he might be quiet or reserved. Maybe I was playing into some racial stereotype.
Sure.
This motherfucker had a lot to say, and I loved it. Why? No, that's just because he's your dad. He's super smart, and he's very well informed politically. And we had and then funny enough, I could see exactly why Monica hates my guts all the time, because your dad and I think almost identical.
You have a lot of similarities, yeah.
Yeah, and the best part is he kept saying, Monica. Every time he'd make a point to you, he'd start saying your name, and I could see it like grating you.
He was making a point to the group, but he would say my name specifically.
Yeah, because he knew you were the one we needed to win over.
Well, that's what he said, but really he was just trying to be irritating to me.
He's so sweet to you. From the outside, you can see he's so sweet. He wants you to like recognize his opinion has validity. But luckily, I was there and I agreed with everything he said. He and I are both left-leaning progressives. Yeah. Your father and I.
Yeah.
Yet we spent the entire evening making a great case for guns, more guns for everyone, and just forcing ourselves to really think in the conservative way to make sense of it.
But
he does a good job of it as well.
He does. And I've lived with that my whole life. This is every dinner, everything. So I think I'm good at that because of that, but I don't think you would agree.
Well, what I saw immediately was like, no wonder you and I get along so well, because you just snapped right into your dad relationship.
Because you're my dad, too.
Because I'm your dad.
And your dad's my dad.
I'm your West Coast dad.
Yeah. Okay. You said that Houston is the highest rate of obesity. Okay. Not true. Anymore.
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 Who stole the title?
Do you want to guess?
Yeah, okay. So if it's not Houston, oh boy, I'm about to alienate cities around America, but oh boy. Atlanta?
No,
okay, sorry.
No. Can't help but take that a little personally. I'm just kidding. I don't. But
well, I was just thinking of big southern cities. Detroit was it forever, so that's why I feel like I can throw some mud, because Detroit was it forever.
But that's interesting. That's weird to me that it was, because I don't think big cities are as susceptible to this problem, because there's more awareness and exercise. That's true, but there is also more, I would say, awareness of current trends in a city.
Yeah, well, like LA people are thin, but that's because it's a lifestyle. Like
exactly.
they're obsessed with it. But New York, they aren't as obsessed with it, but everyone's thin because they are walking everywhere. And then when you go to like Italy, you go anywhere in Europe where everyone walks everywhere, everyone's thin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay. That holds for me. It was all that yummy Southern food.
I know.
Fried everything, man.
Mac and cheese.
And it's too fucking hot.
Mayonnaise.
Let's also give them a break and go, it's just too damn hot to get out there and exercise.
It's hard, yeah.
That's why I had to do my exercise in the water today. I couldn't have exercised in the yard here in Austin. It's 95
I thought
degrees.
about it for 1 second.
And you're like, fuck this.
And I was like, I'm never doing that. Do you know that you say Philadelphia? Do you even know?
Isn't that how you say it?
No.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
What?
Philadelphia.
Del?
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. You never.
No, it's Philadelphia.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I would concede that it's probably spelled the way you're saying it, but you definitely say Philadelphia.
Okay. We'll ask everybody, and this will be okay. Yeah.
That's why I always call it Philly. That's why I always call it Philly. You know, every time I'm talking with my boys and I say, let's go down to Philly.
I'm gonna clue in our armchairs about something, because now this is gonna come full circle. No, I love the way you talk. I didn't want to bring it up because I was afraid you'd get self-conscious about it and stop doing it, but it doesn't seem like you're gonna, so it's okay.
I can almost not do it the way you say it. Like it requires so much mental.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Philadelphia.
Like I'd have to stop everything I was saying about Philly to say it that way, and I just wouldn't do it. I got to maintain my flow.
Yesterday, or not yesterday, for a couple days, from our beautiful dock, we can see a lot of stars and we can see Mars.
Mars is in the sky.
Mars is in the sky. and it looks very white to me. It looks like a white star, a bright white star. And the boys were... Three boys were saying, no, it's reddish. Which look, we all know Mars is red. So I think that you guys are seeing it because you know that...
But Monica, I can knock that theory down right now.
Okay.
Because I was calling it that I was saying it was reddish when Wabi Rob got out his app, looked at the sky, and told us it was Mars.
Oh.
I started by saying
sure?
that red one looks like a planet.
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
But okay.
And by the way, I don't even know if I think Mars is red.
Well, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I think that. I think Saturn's red.
No, Mars is red.
Okay.
I do know that.
Okay. But Iceland is green and Greenland's ice. So you never know. The red planet
That's
could be
true.
blue.
But it is red, and I knew that, but I was just saying that I could only...
You thought it was confirmation bias.
Well, I just saw white. I know, and I'm not saying it wasn't Mars. I just only saw white. And then you got angry with me for not...
No, I didn't get angry. I really do think you thought I was angry, but I was asking the nicest, sincerest question, because the example I gave in my life is that I think this jacket I have is either black or blue. I can't even remember what I think it is.
Me either, yeah.
But the point is I said my black jacket, and then Monica said, that's blue. And I go, no, it's black. But then my sister came in, and she said, no, it's blue. And I'm like, I don't know, you guys. Then Kristen also said it was blue. And then I said, oh, I clearly am seeing this wrong. There's no way that these three people are wrong, and I'm right. I was just saying, when does something reach max capacity where you recognize it's probably you?
Right.
And I just wanted to know that from you. But you refuse to answer because you don't succumb to peer pressure.
Well, I also don't really know how to answer. Because I know that Mars is red.
Uh-huh.
So I know that if you're seeing red, that's because Mars is red. But that doesn't change that I'm seeing white. I'm always going to be seeing white.
Well, I think there was a little bit of honest confusion between us. That you thought I was saying how long before you see it as red. But I was never saying that.
Well,
you
were saying how until I can see that I'm
like,
wrong.
oh, you might have some kind of abnormality.
Deficiency or something.
Some abnormality in your eyes that you're not seeing red when other people see red.
Right. But so then do you think Philadelphia...
You're right.
You think it's Philadelphia?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because when you heard it, you sounded like you'd never heard that.
I would say with 99% frequency rate, when you say a word, it's the correct way, and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I don't have great diction.
I guess, but then in that case, we have to trust me about...
Philadelphia?
No, about colors, because you were definitely wrong about the jacket.
Well, blue and black, obviously, I'm dead in the water, but you could be dead in the water with red.
You're right. You're right.
When you're right, you're wrong.
And then, oh, by the way, all the girls came out and saw white, shiny.
Yeah, so then
stars.
we started thinking maybe it was a gender thing.
Yeah, could be.
Like pooping your pants or peeing your pants.
Colorblind is a very gender-heavy thing.
It is,
Yes.
yeah. More guys are colorblind, right?
Yes.
Yeah, my Papa Bob, we'd pull up to a stoplight, and
that's scary.
they're all the same color to him. So he's looking at the order.
Yeah.
Which just seems crazy to me. When you're far away,
That's crazy.
you need to be able to see whether it's green or red.
I know.
I don't know if you can see whether it's at the top or the bottom immediately.
And then what color do you think they're seeing? Black?
Gray.
Yeah.
Things are black, white, and gray for him.
The whole world?
Mostly.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Do you think your skin looked grayish to him?
There
in
must
your
be gradations of the gray. Like you must look darker to Papa Bob than I do.
hope.
By the way, we lost Papa Bob, so he wouldn't see us. But
Yeah.
were he around, you'd have to appear darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just maybe I looked more on the blacker end of the scale, of the gray scale.
Yeah, more. You probably looked more like the red light, and I looked more like the green light to him.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I would really like for you to answer. You said that there was a word in your high school, a bad, mean word for theater kids.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't say what it is. And
It's theater fags. That's what they call people in drama. Theater fags.
Got it.
Yeah, fag was a very prevalent, innocuous. It was
Sure.
like, oh, that's just a.
It was like
almost
gay.
separated. Yeah, it
Remember
was
when
like,
everyone used to say gay all the time for everything?
Well, Kristen and I have a whole scene in Hit and Run about fag, the word fag, because a lot of guys genuinely, it's not right, it's wrong,
Yeah.
but they do genuinely use the word fag to say pussy, or they don't. It's the swear word version of pussy to them. They're not even saying something as homosexual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which she then in the movie proves that I'm wrong in that that's not an acceptable swear word for
Right.
pussy. Which she's right, but just
And I just want to clarify. You mean wimpy, not an anatomy.
back up. Wait, what? Because I said, oh, pussy.
Yeah.
No, like guys call each other pussies.
To mean wimpy.
This is another hot button topic
Yeah.
on Twitter, and I'm gonna vote, and people yell at me on Twitter. But people get mad that the word pussy is used to describe cowardly men, right?
Wimps.
Women go, you shouldn't use our anatomy. But then I say, no, we call people dicks. Dicks means you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And an asshole, we're talking about our asshole. It's equal. It's equal. We're
doesn't
using
bother
we're using
me.
the male anatomy to describe something bad, and we're using the female anatomy to describe something bad. Like it all comes out in the wash.
The
in my
only
opinion.
thing I would say to that, though, this
They're
is
saying
not
like,
a topic
oh, the pussy
that
is weak. That women are weak.
right.
But that you're just saying men are assholes.
But in general, women's weakness is used against that. It's a patriarchy. So in general, again, it's all about who is more in power. This is not
Yeah.
a conversation that it doesn't bother me that people say that. But that's why.
Sure.
It's the same thing as all the racism
And
stuff we talk about.
I get that.
Yeah.
I 100% acknowledge it. That is true. It's right. But would you rather be known in your group of friends as an asshole or a weakling? Probably a weakling.
I don't know. I
Okay.
really don't know.
Well, I don't think one's better. I would rather be known as a weakling than an asshole. An asshole, no one likes you. People can like people who are weak.
Yeah, but for women, it's hard to be seen as weak because you get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I just think it's equally as bad to be seen as an asshole if you're a woman. If everyone's like, oh, she's an asshole and she's not getting hired, her life blows, no one's dating her. If you're an asshole, you don't have access to anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're both pejoratives, and they both stem from the respective genitalia. So either let's also get rid of calling people a dick, which I don't want to do, and then we'll get rid of pussy. But no, let's just keep them both and recognize I'm not I'm not commenting on women's weakness. I'm
Yeah.
married to someone much more powerful than me, so I'm not saying it that way.
Okay, great.
All right.
That's
I
it.
love you.
I love you.
Thanks for joining us, Lakeside.